Chapter 1593. In the sky, Lu Tianyi was also extremely shocked, but soon after, a smile appeared on his face. As expected of an Earth-grade artifact, it's indeed powerful. This sword, I want it. With a loud laugh, he once again brought the golden light seal and charged over. As for Lin Xian, he waved the 9 Hell Demon sword and used the Dragon Sword domain at the same time. Tens of thousands of sword chi turned into a rain of light and shot over. Clang! After dozens of moves, Lu Tianyi was sent flying again. This time, his expression was incomparably ugly. That was because the golden light seal in his hand had actually cracked, crisscrossing through it. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air in disbelief. The incomparably powerful golden light seal had actually shattered. Lu Tianyi's expression was also cold. He was very confident in his golden light seal, and even a 5-star king might not be able to shatter it. But now, a 2-star king could shatter it. This was truly unbelievable. Kid, I will make you pay a painful price. Lu Tianyi's expression was ferocious, and his voice carried a biting, cold, killing intent. The one who will pay the price is you. Lin Xian's figure flickered as he quickly charged over. His time was limited, and he had to end the battle quickly. Golden light illuminates heaven and earth. Seeing the other party charge over, Lu Tianyi's expression was cold. He waved his hand, and immediately the sky was filled with golden light, forming a golden sea that quickly swept forward. This was also a unique skill. Each of the golden waves was like a divine sword, sharp to the extreme. Even a 4-star king would vomit blood if they were hit. Not to mention, the other party was only a 2-star king. In his opinion, the other party was only relying on an Earth-grade artifact to have powerful combat strength. His own cultivation strength was probably not enough. As long as his sword chi swept over the other party, he would definitely be able to take the other party's life. The sky was filled with golden light, emitting a terrifying aura. It was as if the sun was shining in all directions. This light caused the people in the distance to retreat again, fearing that they would be affected. Lin Xian coldly snorted as he waved the 9 Hell Demon sword and used the underworld crescent moon break, directly tearing apart the void. A spatial crack appeared, like a giant abyss beast that connected to hell. Immediately, the golden light in the sky was completely swallowed by the black hole. What? They actually disappeared in an instant. How did he do it? In the distance, everyone was shocked, their skin going numb. Such a terrifying golden light was not something a 4-star king realm could block. However, Lin Xian had actually swallowed that golden light in an instant. What kind of technique is this? It's too terrifying. Even Lu Tianyi's pupils abruptly shrank and his expression changed. The other party's methods were simply too bizarre. Even he found it hard to accept. However, what shocked him even more was yet to come. Because in the next moment, Lin Xian directly used the Dragon Sword domain and charged over. Countless sword chi swept across the world, causing the entire space to shake violently. Lin Xian executed Dragon Sword domain and directly sealed Lu Tianyi in the void. Then, he used the 9 Hell Demonic sword and slashed forward. Boom! With a heaven-shaking strike, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. Lu Tianyi was directly sent flying while vomiting blood. Everyone was shocked. They never thought that Lu Tianyi would actually lose. Lu Tianyi's pupils also abruptly shrank in disbelief. He had the cultivation of a late-stage 4-star king realm, while the other party was only a 2-star king realm. The difference between the two could be said to be the difference between heaven and earth. However, the other party was actually able to injure him. This was simply too unbelievable. With a furious roar, golden light bloomed from his body, and then formed a golden long blade that quickly slashed over. Lin Xian directly used bright moon still water. Countless sword chi formed a mirror and reflected the terrifying attack back. Then, he activated the Dragon Sword domain to the extreme. Every sword light contained the great Dragon Sword soul. The terrifying sword chi pierced through heaven and earth and directly pierced through the other party. Puff! Lu Tianyi was pierced through by the sword chi, and blood spurted out. His eyes widened in disbelief. He never thought that a second-grade king realm could actually kill him. Impossible! After spitting out a few words with difficulty, Lu Tiany's body completely exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They all widened their eyes in disbelief. Who else dares to stop me? Lin Xian held the demonic sword in his hand and looked around disdainfully. Everyone fell silent and retreated, not daring to look directly at him. It was too terrifying. Lin Xian's strength was too strong. Now, no one dared to have any thoughts about Lin Xian. With a cold shout, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's figures flashed and turned into a shocking rainbow as they left the place. One day later, they left Feng Mountain. However, they did not return to the sect. Instead, they stayed in a nearby city for 2 days. This was because Lin Xian wanted to find out more information. He wanted to know what happened to the 5 Almighties who were searching for the 5-colored crystal coffin. Sure enough, the city near Feng Mountain was talking about what happened that day. Among them, the most talked about was the 5 Almighties and the mysterious 5-colored crystal coffin. I wonder what's in the 5-colored crystal coffin that could make the 5 Almighties so interested? I heard that the 5 Almighties finally stopped the 5-colored crystal coffin. After a great battle, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. It was very terrifying. What? There's such a thing? What happened in the end? Everyone asked. However, the warrior sighed softly. They didn't succeed. The 5-colored crystal coffin is too mysterious. I heard that it tore through the void and disappeared. What? Disappeared? How was that possible? The 5 Almighties couldn't subdue it even together? When the crowd heard this, they were extremely shocked. They were simply too shocked. One had to know that this was an almighty being, an existence that could tear apart mountains and rivers. However, the 5 of them could not subdue the crystal coffin even though they worked together? That was too shocking. After hearing that, Lin Xian was also extremely shocked. However, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, Dan Qinzi did not obtain the 5-colored crystal coffin, and neither did the others. In that case, he should be the only one who had the mysterious rune. However, he was curious about what was in the 5-colored crystal coffin. Why did it have such a strange rune? He thought for a long time but could not figure it out. However, he did not stay there for long. After getting the information he wanted, Lin Xian returned to the sect. After another 3 days, the 2 of them returned to Danzong. Lin Xian flew directly back to his mountain peak. Then, he raised his hand and set up a formation to isolate himself from the outside world. Now, he had to be extra careful in Danzong. Other than not eating the blue wave pill, he had to be careful in everything else. That was because the sect master of Danzong was too strange. He had to be careful. After setting up a safe defensive formation, Lin Xian summoned He Tu and the Crimson Dragon. Then, he recounted what he had seen earlier. The 2 of them were shocked when they heard that. They did not expect there to be such a secret. Rune? What rune? Why don't you use it? The Crimson Dragon asked. Chapter 1594. Then, Lin Xian used his spiritual energy to condense the runes that he had obtained. Suddenly, the tadpole-like runes floated in the sky. This is Primordial Immortal Rune! The Crimson Dragon screamed. What Primordial Immortal Rune? What's that? Lin Xian was puzzled. It's something incredible. He Tu explained. It's a type of primordial rune. It's very ancient. No one knows its origin. Legend has it that it appeared with the ancestors of mankind. This type of rune is even called Immortal Rune. What's the use of it? Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't expect these runes to have such an ancient identity. Anything that was recorded by immortal runes was extremely incredible, or a cultivation technique. Kid, I have to say that your luck is too good. He Tu sighed. Even the 4th-generation successor didn't have such an opportunity. He was indeed quite regretful because the 4th-generation successor of the Dragon Sword was brilliant and dazzling. However, He was too young and did not have the time to search for some ancient ruins. Otherwise, if he could live until now, he would definitely have found a lot of immortal runes. Of course, he placed all his hopes on Lin Xian. As long as Lin Xian was strong, he too would be happy. But what are these runes? I don't know. Lin Xian scratched his head and smiled bitterly. Indeed, it was like a beautiful woman standing in front of you. She was attractive, but you couldn't catch her. However, at this moment, the runes in the sky turned into tadpoles and danced in the air. Then, they entered Lin Xian's mind. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Lin Xian's mind shook. Then, he opened his eyes wide in disbelief. Because these runes changed in his mind and formed words that he was familiar with. Finally, a cultivation technique with only 100 words appeared in front of him. This is? Lin Xian opened his eyes wide and read carefully. Then, he took a deep breath. This was an extremely ancient movement technique known as the Heavenly Dragon's 8 Steps. No one could surpass it within 8 steps. Since they had a cultivation technique, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon cultivated diligently and tried to master this movement technique as soon as possible. At the same time, Feng Shan once again welcomed 2 uninvited guests. At this moment, the ghostly aura in Feng Mountain was extremely terrifying. However, most of the warriors had already retreated. Moreover, without the protection of the 5 Almighties, Feng Mountain had become an extremely dangerous place. But now, 2 figures tore through the void and arrived at the depths of Feng Mountain. The bronze coffin was broken open. Must be gone. The one who spoke was a youth with a handsome face. His gaze was deep and carried incomparably mysterious symbols. Yes, not only is the crystal coffin is gone, it is also missing the divine crystal. Another deep voice sounded. It was a middle-aged man with a tall figure. His face was even covered with metal-like scales. Behind his back, there was a long black saber that was as tall as a man. It shone with a cold light. The 2 of them stood in the void and looked ahead. Their red robes were fluttering in the wind. There was a black lotus embroidered on the red robes. It was blooming beautifully, as if it was real. A red robe with a black lotus. If Lin Xian were here to see this, he would definitely cry out in shock. This was the sign that his father had warned him to be careful. Who would have thought that it would appear here? Of course, Lin Xian was unaware of all this. Since the thing is gone, let's go, the handsome young man said calmly. Then, the runes in his eyes disappeared and he returned to normal. The tall middle-aged man behind him nodded slightly. Then, the 2 of them swayed and disappeared into the void. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During these days, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon had already mastered the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. Now, their speed had reached the extreme. Even the Almighties might not be faster than them. If others knew about this, their jaws would definitely drop. The Almighties were peerless figures in everyone's eyes. And Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's speed had reached that level? It was unbelievable. Even Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were shocked. It was indeed a cultivation technique recorded in the primordial immortal language. It was too powerful. A few days later, the sect began to distribute the blue wave pills. Lin Xian also received one. However, when the people from the sect left, he destroyed the blue wave pills. Because he now knew that this was definitely not a spiritual medicine, but a vicious poison. Once the blue wave pills were contaminated, it would become addictive. Even a 4-star king would not be able to resist it. One could imagine that the entire upper echelon and core disciples of Danzong were now under the control of the person who had poisoned them. If one day, the person who had poisoned them no longer provided them with the blue wave pills, the entire Danzong would probably go crazy. Moreover, this was not the only potential danger. If that person wanted to order the core disciples and upper echelon to do something, he only needed to threaten to stop the distribution of the blue wave pills. No one would be able to stand it. Who was the one who did it? What was that person trying to do? What was he trying to do with the entire Danzong? Lin Xian felt a chill in his heart when he thought of this. He was now certain that the murder of the Niwa of Gojoseon was inextricably linked to this matter. Back then, it was because the Niwa of Gojoseon had discovered this secret that he had been hunted down. However, this was something that had happened hundreds of years ago. The fact that the blue wave pills were still being distributed meant that the person who had done this must be a very powerful upper echelon of Danzong. Otherwise, this matter would not have lasted for hundreds of years. Therefore, Lin Xian locked his suspicions on Dan Qinzi. However, even if he knew the truth, there was nothing he could do. Right now, he was no match for Dan Qinzi. Dan Qinzi was already an almighty, and he was not sure how many stars he had reached. In short, he was far more powerful than him. The only thing he could do now was to increase his strength as much as possible. A few days later, the sect's mission came. This was a compulsory mission for core disciples. No one could shirk from it, or else the blue wave pills would be stopped. Although Lin Xian didn't consume this type of medicinal pill, he naturally had to accept the mission in order to not arouse suspicion. His mission was simple. He had to investigate a person. The time limit was 1 month. Lin Xian did not know what mission the others had received. Because of the sect's rules, core disciples were not allowed to ask each other. If they revealed their mission, it would be a violation of the sect's rules. Therefore, Lin Xian did not ask. However, it seemed that his mission would not be too difficult. It seemed that he could only complete this mission first. Chapter 1595. The eastern wilderness was so big that it was unimaginable. One of the countries might even surpass the former Tianwu continent in terms of territory. The place that Lin Xian was going to carry out the mission this time was very far from the alchemy sect. Danzong was in the southern part of the eastern continent, and he was going to the eastern part of the eastern continent. If he had to fly there, it would probably take him 8 to 10 years. However, Danzong would definitely not let Lin Xian fly there. Instead, they would activate the teleportation formation and send him there. This teleportation formation was very mysterious. It could easily send someone from the southern part of the continent to the eastern part. There were even some terrifying teleportation formations that could teleport people between continents. For example, from the eastern wilderness to the western desert. However, this kind of teleportation formation was too terrifying. It required a lot of energy. Therefore, only peerless sacred grounds and remote antiquity families could use it. Lin Xian looked at the huge formation in front of him. He was shocked. The aura that rushed towards him made his body churn. The Crimson Dragon said, "Kid, do you see that? That's a super teleportation formation. It will open the gate and let us travel through time." After a simple explanation, Lin Xian understood. Then, he and the other core disciples stood on the teleportation formation. Chu Yu was there too. However, the two of them received different missions. In the next moment, the teleportation formation shone and all the core disciples were teleported out. The eastern part of the eastern wilderness. The continuous mountains were majestic and majestic. Below them were ancient trees that reached the sky. It was very magnificent. This kind of scenery could not be seen in the Tianwu continent. At this moment, above the primitive forest, the space suddenly opened. It was as if it was torn apart by a pair of invisible hands. Then, a figure came out from it. This figure was naturally Lin Xian. After using the sect's teleportation formation, he directly arrived at the eastern part of the continent. However, as soon as he came out, he felt dizzy. Even the spiritual energy in his body was a little chaotic. This was normal. This was the after effect of teleportation. However, he quickly used the longevity art and returned to normal. Then, the Crimson Dragon's body shook and came out of Lin Xian's sleeve. The two of them looked around, as if trying to confirm something. Soon, Lin Xian took out a map and carefully compared it to confirm his location. Almost there. They were already very close to their target location. They would probably reach their destination in a few days. His mission this time was to investigate a person, and this person was a youth, only 15 years old, named Hong Yu. It is said that he will attend a stone gambling convention in the East. As for the specifics, Lin Xian didn't know. However, the sect's request for him was to record all of Hong Yu's actions during the entire stone gambling event. Furthermore, he was able to detect Hong Yu's cultivation and talent. To be honest, Lin Xian was very confused about this mission. He didn't understand why the sect wanted to investigate a youth. However, after coming into contact with the other party, he should be able to find some clues. Lin Xian finally arrived at his destination, the ancient city of Hanyang. This was an ancient city. It was extremely majestic, and many experts could be seen coming and going. Since the stone gambling event was held in the ancient city of Hanyang, the number of warriors in the city had increased rapidly. It was a lively scene. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon paid the entrance fee and entered the ancient city of Hanyang. They were immediately infected by the lively scene inside. There were hawkers everywhere, and it was extremely lively. Even on both sides of the road, there were many warriors setting up stalls. Treasures dug out from the ancient cave mansion. I'll sell it at a big discount for only 100 times. Mysterious treasure map, you can obtain the ancient inheritance. Come quickly if you are fated. I have ancient cultivation methods. Young man, since you are fated, why don't you choose one? Lin Xian couldn't help but laugh when he heard the voices. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon walked and looked around. They found many good things, and they didn't hesitate to buy them. Lin Xian bought a lot of elixirs to refine elixirs in the future, and the Crimson Dragon bought some materials to make an array. At this moment, there was a sudden exclamation in front of them, as if someone had found something. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were curious, and they walked forward. Sure enough, there was a stall on the side of the street. The table was very strange. There were only some stones of different sizes on it. Some were even covered with moss, and some were full of cracks. They looked like gravel rolling down from a mountain peak. Next to it, there was a sign that said, 500 divine gems for a stone gambling. At this moment, there were many people watching, but not many people made a move. Some people even sneered. Was this guy crazy? He actually sold a piece of broken stone for 500 divine crystals? Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. Along the way, He Tu told him a lot about stone gambling. This kind of stone gambling was very popular in the true spirit world. The origin of those stones was mysterious, and some were even taken from the forbidden zone of life. However, these stones looked like ordinary stones, but they contained rare treasures. Some might contain divine gems, and some might even contain divine gems, or other ancient treasures, which were very exciting. Of course, before they were opened, no one knew what was inside. And because of this stone gambling, there was even a profession called Seeker Spirit Master. These Seeker Spirit Masters had special methods to investigate the situation inside stone gambling. It could be said that the treasures they opened were much more likely to be found than ordinary martial artists. Of course, as for what kind of treasure one could open, it depended on one's cultivation. But generally speaking, every Seeker Spirit Master was an incomparably precious existence. Some terrifying Sky Spirit Masters could even find spirit vein divine gems in the mountains and swamps. These people would be invited and entertained by ancient families and peerless sacred grounds. It was easy to imagine how terrifying these people were. Lin Xian asked He Tu in detail. These Seeker Spirit Masters mostly had special eye techniques or were born with special eyes that could see through illusions and search for spirit vein divine gems. Lin Xian was cultivating the martial Dao Heavenly Eye, which could be said to be a very special eye technique. Therefore, he was very interested in stone gambling. Let's go and take a look. Lin Xian smiled, and then the two walked forward. The stall owner was a middle-aged man with a 4-star king cultivation base. At this moment, there were many people gathered around the stall, but no one bought anything. This was because these stones were too different from the stone gambling that they had seen before. They even suspected that these stones were fake. Ordinary stones were used to fool people. However, Lin Xian felt that these stones seemed to contain a special energy that was different from others. Therefore, he decided to give it a try. Previously, he had killed many experts and taken their storage rings, so Lin Xian had a lot of divine gems. Spending 500 divine gems to buy a stone was something he could afford. Chapter 1596. Fellow cultivator, I'll choose a stone. Lin Xian threw out a bag containing 500 secondary divine gems. Sure, go ahead. The middle-aged man took the bag and said with a smile. What? Someone actually bought it? Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. Yeah, this guy must be crazy. These stones look fake. How dare he buy them? Is he a seeker spirit master? A seeker spirit master? I don't think so. Maybe he's just a hothead who doesn't know what stone gambling is like. Everyone discussed and shook their heads. They felt that they had been cheated by buying these stones. The Crimson Dragon was also a little worried. To be honest, even he couldn't understand stone gambling. Because those stones had extraordinary origins and contained strange energy. Ordinary methods couldn't see through them at all. Some stones that looked very strong turned out to be empty after being cut. There were even some stone gambling experts who lost their entire family fortune in a single night. And Lin Xian was just a young boy who had never gambled on stones before. Could he do it? The Crimson Dragon wasn't sure. Forget it. Let him try. 500 divine gems isn't too much. If he doesn't get anything this time, I'll stop him from doing it next time. The Crimson Dragon made up his mind. Lin Xian smiled. After paying the 500 divine gems, he didn't choose immediately. Instead, he secretly activated his martial path Heavenly Eye. Suddenly, his eyes became deep. But this time, he controlled it well and didn't show any obvious runes. Because he didn't want to alarm those people and cause unnecessary trouble. The martial path Heavenly Eye was a powerful divine power. Even in the clan of the ancients and the peerless sacred grounds, few people knew how to use it. And Lin Xian was very talented. He learned this divine power and even practiced it to a certain level. At this moment, the stones in front of him became hazy under the martial path Heavenly Eye. Suddenly, he turned his eyes and stared at one. This is it. Lin Xian nodded slightly and picked up a football-sized stone. Then, he cut the stone with his fingers like a knife. Damn, so casual? Everyone was stunned. Originally, when they saw the other party's confident appearance, they thought that the other party was a seeker spirit master. However, who would actually choose a stone? This was too careless. These people shook their heads. They realized that this method was completely different from the method of the seeker spirit master. Even a real seeker spirit master would have to ponder for a long time before he could be sure. And now, this young man was probably certain in just a few seconds. It must have been a random choice. On top of that, the crowd's mouths twitched upon seeing the other party's method of cutting the stone. A real seeker spirit master would use a special knife to carefully cut, for fear of destroying the things inside. Yet, the young man before him was actually using his finger to cut it open without any particular technique. Could it be that he's not afraid that there's really a treasure inside and he'll break it? At this moment, everyone was sure that the kid in front of them was definitely not a spirit-seeking stone, but a hothead. Sigh, with his methods I reckon that even if there are treasures inside, they will be destroyed. What treasure? He just randomly chose it. It would be strange if there was a treasure. Everyone shook their heads, but they did not leave. They did not want to stay and watch the show. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Under the martial Dao celestial eye, he had already seen what was inside. At this moment, his palm seemed to be careless, but the treasure inside was not damaged at all. His fingers were like knives as he quickly waved them. Soon, the stone that was the size of a football became the size of a fist. It seems that there's really nothing inside. Seeing this scene, everyone shook their heads and sighed. Some even sneered. However, in the next moment, they were stunned. Even their mouths were wide open in disbelief. That was because Lin Xian had cut down again. As a result, a bright light was emitted from the stone. It was like the sun, illuminating the entire sky. What? What a powerful light! There must be a treasure inside. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect that the other party would really cut out a treasure. Damn, who is this kid? He's too lucky. That's right. He randomly chose a treasure and found it. That's too heaven-defying. Looking at the light, I'm afraid it's definitely not an ordinary item. Cries of surprise rang out one after another. Then, everyone widened their eyes and stared at the stone in Lin Xian's hand. Even the Crimson Dragon was extremely shocked. However, he knew that Lin Xian definitely did not do it by luck, but by using the martial Dao Celestial Eye. Damn, this kid's talent is too terrifying. He can actually cultivate the martial Dao Celestial Eye to such a level. It was too shocked. Meanwhile, Lin Xian was still smiling as he continued to cut the stone. Soon, the bright light became brighter and brighter. It was like a sunset that surrounded the stone. Crack! After the last cut, all the stones fell down, revealing a crystal that was the size of an egg. What? A supreme-grade subdivine crystal! Heavens, I'm not dreaming, am I? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. They did not expect that there would be a supreme-grade subdivine crystal in the stone. And it was as big as an egg. It was definitely a rare treasure. He made a fortune. This kid definitely made a fortune. He bought a supreme-grade subdivine crystal the size of an egg with 500 ordinary subdivine crystals. That was absolutely heaven-defying. Everyone exclaimed and their eyes turned red. Even the middle-aged man who was selling the stone was extremely surprised. However, although he was shocked, he did not intend to go back on his words. Lin Xian looked at the supreme-grade subdivine crystal in his hand and nodded in satisfaction. Very good. He needed this kind of energy. He did not expect to find it now. Just nice. This stone could increase his strength and cultivation by a lot. At the same time, he was also delighted. It seemed that his martial Dao Celestial Eye was indeed amazing. It could accurately see the situation in the stone gambling. It seemed that he could totally become a seeker spiritual master in the future. The energy he needed for cultivation was too great. Ordinary methods could not satisfy his needs. However, if he became a seeker spiritual master and engaged in stone gambling, he might be able to quickly collect a large number of divine crystals. However, at this moment, a cold voice came from behind him. A supreme-grade subdivine crystal? Very good. It's mine now. Along with the voice came a towering hand. It slapped down and covered Lin Xian and the supreme-grade subdivine crystal in his hand. The terrifying hand was as strong as a mountain. Its aura alone was enough to send many martial artists flying. Lin Xian sneered. Then, his body swayed and he instantly left the place. Not to mention that this person had attacked suddenly. Even if he could not defeat an almighty, he could still escape. His current speed was extremely terrifying. The person who slapped the air was furious and wanted to attack again. Chapter 1597. However, the surrounding martial artists felt their scalps go numb. Someone dared to fight in the ancient Hanyang city. Did he want to die? Sure enough, a tall man with a cold expression was standing behind them. He was the one who had attacked. At this moment, he stretched out his hand again and tried to grab Lin Xian. However, at this moment, a cold shout came from the sky. Who dares to fight in the ancient Hanyang city? Kill without mercy! Then, a dazzling saber radiance cut the huge hand apart like a shooting star. Not only that, the tall middle-aged man was also cut in half. The saber radiance flashed like a shooting star. In the next moment, it turned into a boundless flame and burned the corpse and the blood. Only a faint smell of blood was left in the sky. However, the corpse of the attacker was long gone. The enforcers have attacked! How terrifying! The surrounding martial artists felt their scalps go numb. They knew that fighting was not allowed in the ancient Hanyang city. However, they did not expect the enforcers to be so fierce. The person who had attacked earlier was already a 5-star king. However, in front of the law enforcers, He had no power to resist at all and was killed. This was simply too shocking. The law enforcers of the ancient city not only killed the person who attacked, but they also intimidated the crowd. Now, everyone looked at Lin Xian with shock in their eyes. Although their eyes were burning, no one dared to attack again. Lin Xian squinted his eyes. He had heard about the rules of the ancient Hanyang city from Hay Tuesday. However, he did not expect the enforcers to be so powerful. However, this was good. It would save him some trouble. The middle-aged man seemed to be used to this. He stared at Lin Xian and asked in a deep voice, "Master, do you want to choose another one?" Hearing this, the crowd became excited again. They also wanted to see if Lin Xian was really capable, or just lucky to have chosen this one. However, Lin Xian shook his head and said, "There's no need for that. Only this piece of rock is good. The rest are all trash." "What? Rubbish!" The crowd was shocked and could not believe it. As for the middle-aged man, he was also startled. His eyes shone brightly. "Are you sure? Don't talk nonsense." Of course, he was sure. Lin Xian smiled. Then, his eyes suddenly became piercingly cold. He waved his hand and shattered all the stones. "What? He actually broke it with a punch!" Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. This action was simply too crazy. The middle-aged man's pupils constricted. He did not expect the other party to act so decisively. It shattered all of his stones. Could it be that he wasn't afraid that there would be 1 or 2 treasures in these stones? However, what shocked everyone was that all the stones exploded, but they were all empty. There was not a single treasure. "What? None of them! They're all useless rocks!" Everyone gasped. Then, they looked at Lin Xian, and their expressions changed. They now knew that the young man in front of them was definitely not lucky to be able to cut out a supreme-grade sub-divine crystal. Instead, it was true ability. This was definitely an expert. The middle-aged man also sighed. "Young master's methods are truly admirable. I thought that other than the Ryu family, no one else would be a match for us in this stone gambling convention. However, I didn't expect that someone like you would appear. It's really surprising." "What? Ryu family? Could it be that ancient family?" Everyone heard that. They were immediately shocked. Because they knew. There was an ancient family in the eastern part of the eastern continent. Most of the family members were seeker spirit masters, and their strength was extremely terrifying. It was even said that there was a celestial spirit master in that family. That family was surnamed Lu. They did not expect that they would come as well. "So it's Brother Lu." Lin Xian cupped his fists and smiled. "It's an honor to meet you." Although he was only in his 20s, and the middle-aged man was obviously older than him, the crowd did not think that there was anything wrong with him calling him Brother Lu. Even the middle-aged man was not displeased at all. That was because strength was everything that determined seniority. Age had nothing to do with it at all. The two exchanged a few more words, and then Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon left. The crowd looked at Lin Xian's back and whispered, "Who is that young man? How could he be so powerful? Yeah, he can see through all the fake at a glance. Needless to say, he must be a seeker spirit master. It's just that I don't know which clan or sect he's from. That young man is nothing. That middle-aged man is terrifying. Although he didn't show any skills, his surname alone is enough to shock everyone." "Yeah." The crowd nodded. The Ryu family was definitely a terrifying family. Sure enough, someone from the ancient Hanyang city came to welcome the middle-aged man surnamed Lu. That made the crowd envious again. On the other side, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were strolling around the city again. The Crimson Dragon was also excited. "Young man, not bad. I didn't expect your heavenly eye to be so powerful. It seems that it won't be difficult to get more sub-divine crystals in the future." Lin Xian took a deep breath. "Don't be so optimistic. These stones are just the most basic ones. I was lucky to find the right ones. If I find the real ones, I'm afraid I won't be able to see through them with my current cultivation. But don't be too discouraged. As my heavenly eye improves, I'll be able to cut out more treasures. Maybe I'll be able to get a real divine crystal. Lin Xian clenched his fists as he spoke. He had seen a real divine crystal back in Mount Feng. The aura emanating from the divine crystal was enough to tempt him. That was a true treasure. A piece of divine crystal was equivalent to countless supreme-grade substandard divine crystals. Lin Xian suddenly frowned and retreated quickly. He performed the heavenly dragon's 8 steps and left the place instantly. As soon as he left, an icy saber swiftly slashed downward, shattering the spot where Lin Xian had been standing. On the other side, the dark red divine dragon's figure also swayed and retreated far away. He had also been attacked. Fortunately, both of them had mastered the heavenly dragon's 8 steps, and their speed had reached a terrifying level. That was why they could avoid the assassination. However, both of them were shocked. If they didn't have the heavenly dragon's 8 steps, they would have been seriously injured or even killed. Damn it! Who dares to attack me in the ancient Hanyang city? Lin Xian's face was gloomy. One had to know that someone had tried to attack him before, but that person had been killed immediately. Therefore, no one dared to break the rules of the ancient Hanyang city. But now, someone dared to assassinate him, and it wasn't just one person. He was shocked. Chapter 1598. On the other side, the Crimson Dragon gritted his teeth. Who is it? Come out! How dare you assassinate Ben Wang? However, no one answered him. It was obvious that the other party was a terrifying assassin who was good at hiding. He would escape immediately after missing his target. However, how could Lin Xian let him leave? He used his martial Dao celestial eye, and mysterious runes flickered in his eyes. A terrifying light swept across the area. No matter how well the two assassins hid, they could not hide under the effect of the martial Dao celestial eye. Found him! Lin Xian sent a message to the Crimson Dragon. Then, the two of them charged forward. The two mysterious assassins were shocked. They did not expect the other party to be able to lock onto them. When they saw the other party charging forward, their scalps went numb. The two of them were about to leave in a flash. However, Lin Xian was extremely powerful. He used the heavenly dragon's 8 steps and appeared in front of the other party in an instant. How can he be so fast? The mysterious assassin was shocked. He did not expect the other party's speed to be so terrifying. As an assassin, he was good at movement techniques. However, the other party's movement technique was faster than his. Before he could react, the other party had already caught up to him. Damn it! The mysterious assassin roared and stabbed with his sword. The dazzling sword light tore through the sky. Lin Xian smirked coldly. He raised his palm, which contained countless terrifying black flames, and slammed it forward. Bang! This palm strike was incomparably terrifying. It directly shattered the void, causing cracks to appear in the surrounding space. The black flames engulfed the mysterious assassin. In an instant, the mysterious assassin was burned to ashes. At the same time, the Crimson Dragon also used a powerful technique to kill the other assassin. However, at this time, a cold voice was heard from afar. Who's there? How dare you attack in freezing Sun Valley City? You're courting death. Although the place where Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were at was remote, it was not empty. That scene just now was also seen by many martial artists. When they heard the cold voice from afar, their scalps went numb. They did not expect that the enforcement team would actually come so quickly. Lin Xian was also surprised. He didn't expect the enforcement team to be so efficient. Immediately, he snorted coldly, because through his martial Dao heavenly eye, he could still see a few figures in the distance. However, the distance was too far, and those people had not made a move yet. If he wanted to kill them now, he was afraid that the law enforcement team would have something on him. Therefore, he did not make a move. In the blink of an eye, a few people quickly flew over and arrived nearby. These people were all wearing black armor and had powerful auras. They carried a terrifying killing intent. These people were the law enforcement team of the ancient city of Hanyang. Who dares to make a move in freezing Sun Valley City? A middle-aged man in black armor shouted coldly. His eyes were like lightning, extremely sharp. However, there was no fear on Lin Xian's face. He stood with his hands behind his back and said in a deep voice, "Very good. Enforcers, you came at the right time. I also want to know who dares to assassinate me in public." "What? Assassination?" Hearing this, the law enforcement team martial artists frowned. They had only sensed the fluctuation of spiritual qi, so they came to patrol. They did not expect there to be such a reason. "It is indeed an assassination. If you don't believe me, you can ask the surrounding people," Lin Xian said slowly. Some of the surrounding martial artists had already run away, but there were still some who stayed where they were. At this moment, they were discussing animatedly. "This guy is the Seeker Soul Master who cut out the subdivine crystal, right?" "Yes. It is said that even the middle-aged man from the Ryu family favors him. Maybe someone is jealous of his talent. Someone thinks that he is a threat, so they secretly made a move. You are a Seeker Soul Master?" After hearing this, the man in black armor was also surprised. Then, he stared at Lin Xian. "Yes, a Seeker Soul Master." Lin Xian nodded. Until now, this was the only identity he could use. Although he was not a Seeker Soul Master, with his martial Dao Heavenly Eye, there should be no problem for him. "It seems that this is your first time in the ancient Hanyang City. Then, let me explain the rules of the ancient Hanyang City to you. The city is divided into the public area and the lawless area. Fighting is forbidden in the public area, while the lawless area is our business. The law enforcement team will not interfere. You can settle your personal grudges there in the future. This time, you don't know the situation, so we will not make things difficult for you." "Thank you, everyone. I understand." Seeing that the law enforcement team did not make things difficult for him, Lin Xian cupped his fists and said. He knew that his identity as a Seeker Soul Master had played a role. The surrounding martial artists were also envious. Indeed, a Seeker Soul Master was extremely rare, and a powerful one would be treated as a guest of honor by the major forces. Therefore, although Lin Xian had made a move, the law enforcement team did not pursue the matter. However, Lin Xian was very confused, because he could not think of anyone who wanted to assassinate him. After all, he had just arrived in the ancient Hanyang city, so he did not have any enemies. And in the Danzone, there were no obvious enemies. Therefore, he could not think of anyone who would make a move on him. On the side, the Crimson Dragon sent a voice transmission. It could be a potential enemy. After all, you have just shown your ability as a Seeker Soul Master, and many Seeker Soul Masters have come to the Stone Gambling Conference. Maybe someone thinks that you are a threat and wants to get rid of you. It seems that I have to be more careful in the future. Lin Xian nodded. However, although he was careful, he was not afraid. Even if the opponent was a powerful figure, and he could not defeat him, no one could stop him if he wanted to escape. After that, the law enforcement team and Lin Xian left, and two figures appeared on the street. One of them was a handsome young man with deep eyes like the starry sky. The other was a tall middle-aged man with a long saber on his back. Both of them wore red robes with a black lotus embroidered on it. The two of them had appeared in the depths of Feng Mountain before, but now they were in the ancient Hanyang city. At this moment, the tall middle-aged man looked at the figure in the distance and nodded slightly. Not bad, young man. His strength is good, and he is fast enough. He seems to be a Seeker Soul Master. Why? Are you itching for a fight again? The handsome young man said lightly. We are in the middle of a mission. You better not do anything without my order. He is just not bad. He is not worth our time. The tall man laughed. Don't worry. I am just saying. My saber will not kill nameless people. If he is a saint from a peerless sanctuary or a clan of the ancients, I would be interested in killing him. Unfortunately, he is not. The middle-aged man laughed and then said in a low voice, Are you sure that your brother will come here? After the handsome young man heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and a deep light bloomed in his eyes. Chapter 1599. The middle-aged man smiled and said in a low voice, "Are you sure that your brother will come here?" After the handsome young man heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly and a deep light bloomed in his eyes. "I can't be wrong. He should be participating in this stone gambling conference. I really want to see how much he has grown." Then, the two of them flashed and disappeared like a wisp of green smoke. On the other side, after Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon left, they came to a restaurant. The restaurant was filled with warriors and they were discussing the stone gambling conference intensely. Lin Xian did not say anything. He ordered a table of dishes and a pot of good spirit wine. He ate and listened with the Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey. He obtained some information from the discussion around him. It was related to the stone gambling conference. These divine crystals had been formed after tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Some of them had formed into mineral veins, while others had been sealed in rocks. And those stones were the stone gambling conference. These stones carried an ancient aura, so it was difficult for ordinary warriors to see through them. Only after opening them could one know if there were treasures inside. And the origin of these stones determined how many treasures there were. One of them came from the primordium ancient mine and was very precious. It was said that the treasures inside were even higher. However, the primordium ancient mine was not a good place. It was a forbidden zone for life. Only some powerful ancient families and sacred grounds could obtain some stones from the periphery of the primordium ancient mine. They transported them here for the stone gambling conference. As for others, they did not have the strength or courage to do so. It was said that in this stone gambling conference, there would be stones dug out from the primordium ancient mine. At this point, the surrounding people became even more excited. "I'm afraid that any stone will sell for a sky-high price, right?" "Yes, it's definitely a sky-high price. Ordinary people don't dare to buy it at all. I'm afraid that after cutting it out, there will be no treasures inside and they will go bankrupt. That's for sure. Even those powerful seeker spirit masters are not confident. However, that might not be the case this time. In this stone gambling conference, someone might cut out a stone from the primordium ancient mine." "Primordium ancient mine?" Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and committed this name to memory. Right at this moment, there was a sudden clamor in front of them. Then, a group of figures came in quickly. That was a group of youngsters. Their auras were powerful, and they wore luxurious clothes. Their manners were arrogant. A moonlight was embroidered on their sleeves. This group of people was very arrogant, occupying the most central seat as soon as they arrived. At this moment, a woman from the moon-worshipping cult looked at Lin Xian. Then, she exclaimed, "Aya, what a beautiful little monkey! Senior brother, I want that thing." After saying that, she didn't wait for the others to respond. She directly came to Lin Xian's side and said coldly, "Brat, how much are you selling this pet of yours? I'll give you 100 divinity crystals. Sell it to me." With that, she waved her hand and took out 100-fold god crystal and placed it in front of Lin Xian. "Not for sale. Take your subdivinity crystal and disappear in front of me," Lin Xian said without raising his head. "What did you say? You dare to scold me? Brat, do you want to die?" The female disciple of the moon-worshipping cult was enraged. "Are you blind? Do you know who I am? How dare you scold me? Do you believe that I'll cut off your tongue right now? Get lost!" Lin Xian shouted coldly. Boom! In front, the cultivators of the moon-worshipping cult were enraged when they heard this. One by one, they stood up and walked toward Lin Xian. "Brat, how dare you scold my junior sister? I think you don't know how to write the word death. Kneel down and apologize. Slap your face 100 times and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I can guarantee that you won't leave the ancient city alive. How dare you scold the people of the moon-worshipping cult? Brat, I think you really don't want to live anymore." A series of cold shouts sounded. These disciples of the moon-worshipping cult looked down at Lin Xian with murderous intent in their eyes. "Moon-worshipping cult? Is that so arrogant? How dare you provoke me? Be careful that I'll kill all of you." Lin Xian said coldly. He was enjoying his meal here, but these people actually took the initiative to find trouble with him and even wanted to humiliate him. No one would be able to tolerate this, let alone Lin Xian. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to alarm the enforcement team, he would have already killed all of them. The cultivators in the restaurant whispered to each other when they saw this scene. Those are the people of the moon-worshipping cult. They're really overbearing. That brat is out of luck. The moon-worshipping cult is full of experts. He can't stop them alone. Did you hear that, brat? The people of the moon-worshipping cult laughed wildly. If it weren't for the ancient city's rules, I would have already attacked. Is that so? You know the ancient city's rules too? Lin Xian smiled coldly. The reason you're still alive and talking is because of the ancient city's rules. Otherwise, you'd be dead in front of me right now. Get lost now, or you'll have to bear the consequences. Hearing this, the cultivators of the moon-worshipping cult frowned, and the surrounding people were in an uproar. They didn't expect that Lin Xian would dare to respond in such a way to the experts of the moon-worshipping cult. Who is this brat? He doesn't look familiar. Is he also a disciple of a large sect? No way, why do I feel that he's only a two-star king? Such a person dares to provoke the moon-worshipping cult? What? Two-star king? That's impossible. Everyone was shocked, and then they probed one after another. Soon they were shocked because the other party was really only a two-star king. Ha 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 ha, this is hilarious. The people of the moon-worshipping cult sneered arrogantly. Two-star king? Brat, you dare to be arrogant in front of us with such a weak cultivation? It seems that you don't know how to write the word death. The female disciple from before sneered. Brat, you're asking for it. Don't blame me if you're courting death. Then she stretched out her hand and grabbed the little white monkey. Woodgie woodgie. The little white monkey waved its furry paws angrily. When it saw the female disciple grabbing at it, it instantly disappeared. So fast, it's a natural variant. The female disciple was stunned, and her voice was filled with ecstasy. I'm the only one who deserves to own such a rare beast. Then she looked around, trying to capture the little white monkey's trajectory. However, she screamed in the next moment. Ah! The sharp sound made everyone's scalp go numb. The female disciple of the moon-worshipping cult quickly retreated, covering her face with her hands. Her face was full of horror. Drip! Drip! Blood flowed from her fingers and dripped on the ground. What? She's injured? How is this possible? The surrounding people widened their eyes in disbelief. They didn't see anyone attack at all. How did the female disciple get injured? Oh no! The little white monkey appeared again, waving its paws angrily. The arrogant female disciple was so angry that she was trembling. Chapter 1600. Her eyes were filled with viciousness. Damn you, monkey! How dare you disfigure me? I'm going to kill you! I'm going to kill you! Senior brother, kill all of them! Leave no one alive! She was furious. She did not expect the little white monkey to be so fast. Furthermore, her opponent had actually attacked her and scratched her face. This was something that the prideful her was unable to tolerate. Brat, how dare you hurt my junior sister? I'll make you pay a painful price. You're dead. The surrounding disciples of the moon-worshipping sect sneered. Do you know who our senior brother is? Our senior brother Niu Lang is one of the candidate saints. You're dead. Niu Lang, he's Niu Lang. If he's one of the successors, then he must be an extremely powerful genius. The surrounding people exclaimed. Every major sect and holy ground had a candidate saint and saintess. Other than that, there were also some candidate saints and saintesses. They were used as a precaution or for the sex competition. These candidate saints were powerful and could definitely suppress the younger generation. The crowd did not expect the arrogant young man in front of them to be one of the candidate saints. Lin Xian sneered. Just a candidate? How dare you be so arrogant when you're not even a candidate? He sneered disdainfully and shook his head slightly. Brat, you're courting death! The group of disciples of the moon-worshipping sect was furious. The candidate saint, Niu Lang, looked gloomy. However, the surrounding cultivators exclaimed again. I think I've seen that young man before. Isn't he the Seeker Soul Master who cut out the subdivine crystal? What? Seeker Soul Master? He's a Seeker Soul Master? The crowd was even more shocked. They did not expect the other party to have such an identity. The disciples of the moon-worshipping sect were also stunned. Niu Lang snorted. Humph, what Seeker Soul Master? He was just lucky to cut out a subdivine crystal. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me with such a weak cultivation? You're courting death. Brat, since you dared to hurt my junior sister, I won't let you go today no matter what. Although this is the public zone and we can't attack, in the lawless zone, I'm afraid no one will care. Brat, do you dare to follow me to the lawless zone? Let's fight to the death. Of course, if you don't dare, then forget it. However, I want you to kneel in front of my junior sister and kowtow 100 times before crippling your own arms. Also, hand over this damned monkey obediently, and I can spare your lives. What? The lawless zone will decide life and death. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Although they now knew that Lin Xian might be a Seeker Spirit Master, this was not a life and death battle. It was true strength, a battle of life and death. Although Lin Xian's identity was special, he was only a 2-star king. As for Niu Lang, he was one of the candidate holy sons. His strength was extremely strong, and he had most likely already reached the level of a 5-star king. Such a person was simply too powerful. Most likely, not many people could suppress it. The lawless zone will decide life and death? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes with a touch of coldness. In the past 2 days, people kept finding trouble with him. Did they really think he was a pushover? It seemed that it was time for him to show off his strength to the crowd. What? A battle of life and death! Everyone was shocked. It seems that the people of the moon-worshipping cult really want to kill that young man called Lin Xian. For a moment, everyone was shocked and looked at Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered. I agree to your request. I'll let you know the consequences of challenging me. Hearing this, everyone was in an uproar and couldn't believe their ears. The other party actually agreed and dared to say such arrogant words. Did he really want to die? At this moment, everyone thought that Lin Xian was crazy. What, did I hear wrong? This brat actually agreed? Even the cultivators of the moon-worshipping cult were stunned. They didn't expect the other party to really agree. Ha ha ha, this is too funny. This brat's brain must be flooded with water to actually agree to a battle with senior brother Niu. It seems like he really doesn't know how to write the word death. Brat, I advise you to kneel down obediently and kowtow 100 times. It'll be more comfortable this way. Otherwise, your end will be very miserable. The group of disciples of the moon-worshipping cult sneered. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and stared at Niu Lang. He said coldly, What, you don't dare? Humph! Niu Lang snorted and sneered. Why wouldn't I dare? Brat, daring to fight with me is the biggest mistake you've made in your life. I'll wait for you in the lawless zone. When the time comes, I'll kill you. Niu Lang sneered and then led the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult out of the tavern and toward the lawless zone. The disfigured female disciple also sneered. Brat, you're dead. I'll definitely kill you. And that stupid white monkey, I'll definitely kill him too. You dare to provoke me, all of you can go to hell. The group of people left arrogantly. Lin Xian snorted and left with the crimson dragon and the little white monkey. The entire tavern was in an uproar. They did not expect that both sides would really fight to the death. One was a Seeker Spirit Master, and the other was a successor of the moon-worshipping cult. This kind of battle was really exciting. There's nothing to look forward to. Niu Lang's strength is terrifying. That Lin brat has no chance of winning. No matter what, I have to go and have a look. Let's go! Everyone was excited and walked toward the lawless zone. At this moment, the door of a private room in the tavern opened and 2 figures walked out. One was extremely handsome, and the other was a tall middle-aged man with a long saber on his back. They were the two mysterious people from before. However, at this moment, they were wearing black robes that covered the Black Lotus. Therefore, no one noticed their strange clothes. Hee, I didn't expect to see something interesting. Not bad. Shall we go and have a look? The tall middle-aged man smiled. All right, since we have nothing to do now, let's go and have a look. The handsome young man nodded slightly. Then, the two of them also walked toward the lawless zone. At the same time, the entire ancient Hanyang city received the news. Although Lin Xian also obtained a supreme-grade subdivine crystal, only a small number of people saw it. His opponent, Niu Lang, was indeed very famous. After all, the moon-worshipping cult was a large cult, and Niu Lang was one of the successor candidates. He could be said to be a very powerful genius. Even the older generation might not be able to defeat such a person. Now, there was actually someone who wanted to fight to the death with Niu Lang. And that person's identity was very likely to be a Seeker Spirit Master. This undoubtedly added a bit of mystery to the battle. Therefore, for a moment, many warriors rushed toward the lawless zone. Chapter 1601. On the other hand, Lin Xian ran into a familiar face. It was a fatty in a golden robe. Brother, it really is you! I knew it. Only you would be so bold as to stir up such a storm. Fatty Luo was very excited when he saw Lin Xian. Lin Xian smiled helplessly. He looked at Fatty Luo and asked curiously, Why are you here too? Of course, as long as there's a lively place in this world, I, Fatty Luo, will be there. Oh right, Brother Lin, let me introduce you to my brother, Fatty Luo said as he pointed at a young man beside him. His surname is Du Fei. Du Fei, this is the Lin Xian I told you about. So it's Brother Du. Lin Xian cupped his fists and smiled. Brother Lin, it's an honor to meet you, Du Fei said with a smile. I bet that this battle will be thrilling. Fatty Luo's mouth twitched slightly. He said to Lin Xian, Brother, you'll know this guy when you get to know him. He's a gambler and likes to bet on everything. All right. Lin Xian nodded, speechless. These two were really brothers. One liked to join in the fun, and the other liked to bet. They were really something. However, seeing that the two of them had extraordinary skills and didn't have any bad intentions, Lin Xian also wanted to make friends with them. Then, the group walked toward the lawless zone. On the other side, the people of moon-worshipping cult had also arrived at the lawless zone. They all sneered and looked arrogant. They did not care about this battle at all. The successor Niu Lang, in particular, was sneering. In his opinion, he could crush someone like Lin Xian with one finger. The arrival of Lin Xian and the others also caused a commotion. Fatty Luo narrowed his eyes when he saw the people of moon-worshipping cult. He said in a low voice, Brother Lin, be careful. They have an elder here. Sure enough, there was an old man standing among the moon-worshipping cult's cultivators. His eyes were like lightning, and his whole body was exuding a powerful aura. It's fine. Lin Xian nodded and glanced at the other party. He was not afraid at all. No matter who came today, they wouldn't be able to save these people from moon-worshipping cult. The next moment, he strode forward. Heh, ignorant trash, you really dare to come? Looks like you really don't know what death is. The people of the moon-worshipping cult sneered. The surrounding people were also discussing. They didn't expect that Lin Xian would really come. Lin Xian, on the other hand, had a calm expression on his face as he said coldly, There's no harm in saying more. Let's fight to the death. Pun! Not long after Lin Xian arrived, the void suddenly trembled, and a huge figure appeared in the sky. It was a man from the ancient city of Hanyang. He waved his hand and the ground bulged up, forming a hole. In the huge arena. Who initiated the death match? Come on up! A cold voice sounded. Humph, kid, I'll crush you with one finger. Niu Lang sneered and stepped onto the arena. Kid, get over here and accept your death. A roar shook the mountains and rivers. The surrounding martial artists felt their blood boil, and they couldn't stand still. So strong! Worthy of being the candidate saint of the moon worshipping cult. Since you're in a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Lin Xian snorted, and then his body swayed, and he instantly appeared on the arena. Seeing this movement technique, the crowd was shocked and couldn't believe it. Some experts even squinted their eyes. So fast! What movement technique is this? It seems like this kid is not simple. Exclamations of surprise sounded. However, the martial artists of the moon-worshipping cult sneered. So what if his movement technique is good? He's just a 2-star king. His strength is not enough. I think senior brother Nyo can kill him with one punch. That's right. With his strength, he won't be able to withstand a single blow. On the arena, Nyo Lang snorted and stretched out his palm. His huge palm covered the sky and the sun, carrying a terrifying aura. In the palm, there was a full moon that was floating up and down. This scene was too terrifying. It was as if he was holding a real moon and smashing it toward Lin Xian. The aftershocks set off countless strong winds and huge waves, causing the crowd to feel cold. Some of the weaker ones were even sent flying. So strong! The crowd was shocked. Just the aftershock alone was already so powerful. One could imagine how terrifying the real sun and moon in the palm was. It's over. That kid can't resist it. Not to mention 2-star kings, even 4-star kings can't resist this attack. The crowd shook their heads and sighed, looking at Lin Xian. However, in the next moment, their expressions changed drastically, and their hearts beat wildly. Lin Xian suddenly let out a long roar, and a roar came from his body. Endless energy exploded from his body and swept around. What? So powerful! How is this possible? The crowd widened their eyes in disbelief. They realized that Lin Xian's aura was not weaker than Nyo Lang's at all. Humph, you're just bluffing. Die! Seeing this, Nyo Lang exerted more strength and slammed his palm down. Lin Xian snorted coldly, clenched his fist, and punched out. The blood in his body was like a dragon, letting out a roar, and a powerful aura shook the surroundings. Boom! This punch directly shattered the full moon. Heaven and earth trembled, and countless cracks appeared in the void. Then, he used his fingers like a sword and quickly slashed out a ray of sword chi. It was like a divine red, carrying a sharp light as it quickly slashed forward. On the opposite side, Nyo Lang's pupils constricted, and his face was full of shock. To be honest, he did not believe that Lin Xian could block his attack. In his opinion, he could suppress a 2-star king with a raise of his hand. However, Lin Xian's strength was beyond his expectations. When he saw that Lin Xian dared to take the initiative to attack, he was immediately furious. He snorted coldly, and used his technique again. As a successor, he was extremely powerful and had boundless confidence. Moreover, his strength was not limited to this. That attack just now was only a little of his strength. Now, he would let Lin Xian know what a true genius was. Kill! With a furious roar, Nyo Lang's aura changed drastically and became very violent. At the same time, a huge moon appeared behind him. It was a red moon, and it was very large. It suddenly appeared behind him as if it was real. Along with it, there was an endless tide of energy that spread in all directions, causing heaven and earth to tremble. At this moment, all the surrounding martial artists who were watching the battle felt a surging pressure on their bodies. Some of the weaker ones even knelt on the ground with pale faces. Blood Moon Realm! This is Nyo Lang's King Realm! Everyone exclaimed, and their bodies trembled. In the crowd, Crimson Dragon God had a look of disdain. He was the person who knew Lin Xian the best, so he was not worried at all. However, Fatty Luo and Du Fei had grave expressions. Because the two of them knew Nyo Lang's strength, and from the scene in front of them, their opponent was indeed powerful. The Blood Moon Realm is the ultimate technique of the moon-worshipping cult. I didn't expect Nyo Lang to be able to cultivate it to such an extent. It's really surprising. Chapter 1602. The Blood Moon is the ultimate technique of the moon-worshipping sect. I didn't expect Niu Lang to be able to cultivate it to such a level. It's really surprising. It was rare for Fatty Luo to be serious. Du Fei also nodded. Yeah, I bet that Niu Lang is not far from becoming a true 5-star king. I wonder if Brother Lin can contend with him? In the arena, Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. To be honest, Niu Lang did have the right to be arrogant. Just this moon alone was probably unrivaled among the 4-star kings. However, Niu Lang was unlucky to have met him. This was because Lin Xian's strength could not be estimated by cultivation base. Brat, go to hell! With a roar, Niu Lang activated the Blood Moon domain. Immediately, the moon behind him started to slowly rotate. Endless red light formed in the air. It was like a red millstone, full of mystery. In the next moment, the red light emitted and fiercely collided with Lin Xian's sword qi. Boom! With a loud bang, heaven and earth trembled. Lin Xian's sword qi was blocked. Not only that, countless cracks appeared on it, and finally, with a bang, it shattered into pieces. So terrifying, as expected of the Blood Moon domain. Yeah, Niu Lang is too strong. I'm afraid that even a 5-star king might not be able to contend with him. Although Lin Xian is also very strong and beyond everyone's expectations, it's still too difficult for him to fight against Niu Lang. This time, he's bound to lose. It's such a pity. A Seeker Spirit Master with such strength should have a promising future. However, he provoked Niu Lang. I'm afraid he'll be killed. Sighs could be heard one after another. Everyone believed that Lin Xian had no chance. The reason for that was because the Crimson Moon was simply too terrifying. As for Lin Xian, he did not feel a trace of fear as everyone imagined. In fact, the corners of his mouth even curled up into a mocking smile. In the next moment, he let out a low roar, and then a green dragon sword domain quickly formed beside him. What? He still wants to fight? He's courting death! Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. The cultivators of the moon-worshipping cult sneered. What an idiot! A 2-star king wants to compete with senior brother Niu in King's domain? It seems like he doesn't know what's good for him. Lin Xian, on the other hand, had a calm expression on his face as a hint of confidence appeared on the corner of his mouth. In the next moment, he activated the dragon sword domain. Soon, countless sword qi surged and quickly condensed, forming the shadow of a green dragon behind him. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws, roaring in the void. Come, let me see how strong your king's domain is. Lin Xian's voice was steady. You're courting death. On the other side, Niu Lang roared angrily and charged over with the huge blood-colored moon. The other party actually dared to look down on him. He was truly unforgivable. He would make the other party pay the most painful price. The red moon traversed the sky, shaking the heavens and shaking the earth as it shone with a red light. The entire sky was dyed red. At the same time, there was a terrifying energy. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He activated the shadow of the green dragon behind him and struck out with his palm. Immediately, the shadow of the green dragon behind him also waved its huge dragon claws and clawed forward. The void split open, and cracks appeared one after another before it collapsed with a boom. The huge green dragon claws were extremely sharp and were completely formed by sword qi. With a wave of his palm, the sky was filled with violent energy. In the next moment, the two collided fiercely. A storm swept out in all directions, making it impossible for people to look directly at it. This energy was simply too terrifying. The surrounding martial artists were shocked to the core. Even the elder of moon-worshipping cult had a grave expression on his face. Damn it, how can that kid be so strong? The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult looked gloomy. They did not expect that Lin Xian, a 2-star king, would have such strength. It was really beyond their expectations. Humph, so what if he's strong? Against senior brother Niu, only death awaits him. The others gritted their teeth and said. Their eyes were filled with madness. Killing a genius like Niu Lang was very exciting for them. In the sky, intense energy flashed and slapped in all directions like waves. However, at this moment, a loud dragon roar was heard. Then, the green dragon claws emitted a terrifying light and slapped the red moon. It directly sent Niu Lang flying. Puff! The red moon flew backward. Niu Lang kept retreating, spitting out blood. Behind him, the red full moon had dimmed quite a bit. What? He was pushed back. How is this possible? Heavens, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Niu Lang was actually sent flying. Exclamations sounded one after another. Everyone was completely stunned. They did not expect Niu Lang, the saint candidate of the moon-worshipping cult, to be pushed back. This was really beyond everyone's expectations. In the arena, Niu Lang shook his head frantically. Damn it, this is impossible! I don't believe it! How can a 2-star king block my king domain? To be honest, he was going crazy. One should know that when he used his blood moon domain, even a 5-star king was no match for him. However, his opponent had sent him flying with a single palm. He could not accept this. Damn it, go to hell! Niu Lang roared angrily, emitting a crazy light. He used all his strength on the red moon behind him. The red moon spun rapidly, emitting a roaring sound. Boundless flames spread in all directions. Oh no, Niu Lang is angry! This is an all-out attack! Below, the surrounding martial artists exclaimed. As expected, the red moon emitted a dazzling light and quickly attacked Lin Xian. The entire sky trembled. The saint candidate's all-out attack was extremely terrifying. It could even kill a 5-star king. At this moment, when Niu Lang used it, it was even more terrifying. Lin Xian let out a long howl and waved his arm. Azure Dragon break! The azure dragon shadow behind him roared rapidly, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Its entire body emitted a dazzling light. The terrifying light tore through heaven and earth. The entire arena trembled rapidly as if it was about to collapse. Fortunately, this was an ancient arena that was protected by a powerful array formation. That was why it was preserved. Otherwise, just this aura alone would cause the entire ground to sink. With a roar, the azure dragon transformed into a dragon-shaped sword shadow and quickly charged forward. This was one of Lin Xian's ultimate techniques. It contained the power of the great dragon sword soul and was extremely terrifying. Boom! 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 In the next moment, the azure dragon sword shadow collided with the red moon, causing a huge explosion in the void. Waves of destructive energy swept out in all directions, forcing the surrounding martial artists to retreat. Everyone retreated in horror and looked ahead in shock. They could not believe it. Was this really the strength of a 2-star king? How could he be so strong? He could probably kill a 5-star king. Too strong. As expected of Brother Lin. Damn it, am I dreaming? At this moment, Fatty Luo and Du Fei's mouths were wide open in disbelief. Chapter 1603. On the other side, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult had a hideous expression on their faces. Even Elder Zheng's expression was as heavy as water. Boom! 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 Another earth-shattering explosion rang out as the stage exploded with resplendent light. Then, the azure dragon sword shadow directly shattered the blood-colored moon. What? It's broken! How is this possible? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. They realized that Niu Lang's king's domain had been shattered. It was simply unbelievable. No! Damn it! I don't believe it! Niu Lang roared madly. At the same time, he spat out mouthfuls of blood. His face was pale and his body was on the verge of collapsing. The shattering of his king's domain had caused him severe injuries. He was afraid that he would soon become a cripple. He couldn't accept it. On the other hand, Lin Xian snorted coldly and waved his arm. A dazzling sword light shot forward once again. What? He wants to continue? At the sight of this scene, the scalps of the crowd went numb. It seemed like Lin Xian really wanted to kill Niu Lang. Stop! Suddenly, a cold voice rang out. It turned out that it was the elder of the moon-worshipping cult. It was the Reverence Moon Elder, His face was gloomy. His gaze was like lightning. It was unusually cold. Stop? On the stage, Lin Xian sneered. This is a battle of life and death. It will only end when one side dies. You actually want me to stop? What a joke! However, the Reverend Moon Elder snorted coldly. His eyes were like two sharp blades that shook the void. Niu Lang is my moon-worshipping cult's holy prince candidate. His status is incomparably noble. Are you sure you want to kill him? Young man, even if you have some strength, don't be too arrogant. The moon-worshipping cult isn't something you can provoke. I advise you to obediently let Niu Lang go. Otherwise, you will be killed. Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they heard the Reverend Moon Elder's words. It seemed like the Reverend Moon Elder was really angry. He didn't even hesitate to threaten Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered. You dare to threaten me? I hate it when people threaten me. Therefore, Niu Lang must die. In the next moment, he mercilessly waved his arm, and the sharp sword light quickly slashed down. Like a graceful swan, it instantly blasted onto Niu Lang's body. How dare you! Seeing that the other party wasn't afraid of his threat at all, he continued to make a move. The Reverend Moon Elder's expression was extremely ugly. However, in the next moment, he was stunned. His eyes even widened in disbelief. That was because the sword light had directly sliced Niu Lang in half, and his blood dyed the sky red. What? Killed? Cowherd was actually killed! Everyone felt their scalps go numb, and their bodies trembled. This scene was too shocking. A dignified Holy Sun candidate was actually killed by a single sword strike? Not only the surrounding disciples, but even the moon-worshipping cult's martial artists were terrified, and their scalps went numb. They looked at Lin Xian with fear in their eyes. As for Lin Xian, he stood with his hands clasped behind his back and looked around disdainfully. His body was surrounded by sharp sword light, making him look like a sword god, extremely powerful. Brat, go to hell! Suddenly, the moon-worshipping cult's elder snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, a resplendent light blasted towards Niu Lang. The power was terrifying, and it made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. It was obvious that the Reverend Moon Elder's strength was above Niu Lang's. Not good, that brat is finished. What? The moon-worshipping cult's elder actually made a move? A group of people was shocked, and their scalps went numb. Damned old man! Brother Lin, be careful! Fatty Luo and Du Fei cried out in alarm. On the stage, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He hadn't expected the Reverend Moon-worshipping cult's elder to make a move. However, even if the Reverend Moon-worshipping cult attacked, so what? His figure moved, and he executed Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. His speed reached the limit, and he disappeared from the spot in an instant. Boom! The entire stage shook, and cracks appeared in the void. However, the palm strike missed, and it didn't hurt Lin Xian at all. What? So fast! Everyone was shocked. They already knew that Lin Xian's speed was fast. However, they didn't expect him to be so fast. Even the Reverend Moon-worshipping cult's elder's attack couldn't hit him. Damn it, what kind of footwork is that? Even the Reverend Moon-worshipping cult's elder was shocked. With a roar, he wanted to attack again. However, Lin Xian sneered. What a shameless Reverend Moon-worshipping cult! The young one can't beat you, and now you want the old one to make a move. He was truly a laughingstock of the world. Everyone was shocked to hear this, and the Reverend Moon-worshipping cult's elder roared. Damn brat, what did you say? What did I say? I said you're shameless. What's your cultivation? How old are you? You want to attack me? You really don't know shame. Is the Reverend Moon-worshipping cult full of shameless people? Or are you saying that the younger generation is trash? Bastard, who do you think you are? You don't deserve this old man to make a move. However, you killed Niu Lang, and your crime is unforgivable. This old man is going to kill you. What a joke, Niu Lang and I volunteered for the life and death battle. We have no regrets. Even if we die, we have no complaints. Now that Niu Lang has been killed, you want to take revenge? If that's the case, who would dare to fight on the life and death stage? Lin Xian sneered. Everyone fell silent after hearing this. Indeed, Niu Lang had volunteered for the life and death battle. Moreover, the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult's elder had disregarded his status and attacked a junior. Don't try to quibble. Since you dared to kill the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult's people, you have to pay the price. The Reverence Moon-worshipping cult's elder's expression was ferocious. Lin Xian sneered. If the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult continues to send out the younger generation, I will accept it without any hesitation. But if the older generation attacks, it will be a joke to the world. What? Are the younger generation of the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult all trash? No one dares to attack? Everyone was shocked to hear this. They could tell that Lin Xian was looking for trouble with the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult. The Reverence Moon-worshipping cult's elder was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. However, he could not accept Niu Lang's death. Therefore, he decided to disregard his status and kill the kid in front of him. Sigh, the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult is really shameless. Humph, you think you can bully the younger generation just because you're old? How shameless! What? Is there no one else in the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult? If there is no one in the younger generation, I don't mind being the saint of the Reverence Moon-worshipping cult. Fatty Luo, Du Fei, and the Crimson Dragon sneered. Meanwhile, Lin Xian looked down and said coldly, Old man, if you want to fight, sure. Suppress your cultivation to the level of a 2-star king, and we will have a fair fight. What? Suppress his cultivation to the level of a 2-star king? Everyone was stunned after hearing this. Lin Xian sneered. What? You don't dare to accept? You don't even dare to fight someone of the same level, and you dare to be arrogant here? What a piece of trash. Hurry up and get lost. Chapter 1604. Everyone fell silent. Indeed, if one didn't have the guts to fight someone of the same level, then one was truly a coward. The Reverence Moon Elder trembled in anger, and his face darkened. Suppressing his cultivation? A 2-star King Realm expert was going to fight him? What a joke! He had seen the other party's cultivation. The other party was a 2-star King Realm expert who could kill a 5-star King Realm expert. How could he compete with such heaven-defying combat strength? Therefore, he wouldn't suppress his cultivation even if he was beaten to death. What a sharp-tongued brat. Just you wait, this matter won't end like this. My Reverence Moon cult has countless geniuses, and when the time comes, someone will take your dog life. The Reverence Moon Elder gritted his teeth, and with a wave of his sleeve, he turned around and left. The disciples of the Reverence Moon cult had a sinister expression on their faces as they glared at Lin Xian before leaving with the Reverence Moon cult. It's over? It's over just like that? Everyone couldn't believe it. They hadn't expected the Reverence Moon Elder to leave just like that. It seemed like he was afraid of the other party and didn't dare to fight someone of the same level. At this moment, everyone looked at Lin Xian with a solemn expression, and there was even a trace of fear. It was obvious that the other party was a genius, and they had no way of defeating him. On the other hand, the Crimson Dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei smiled and said, Today is a good day, and it's worth celebrating. Brother Lin, let's drink until we're drunk. Okay. Lin Xian laughed loudly, and the few of them left quickly. In the crowd, the mysterious duo's eyes flickered. Among them, the tall middle-aged man smiled and said, Not bad, I didn't expect this brat's strength to exceed my expectations. The handsome young man beside him nodded and said, It's indeed surprising that he could kill the Holy Prince candidate Cowherd. I'm really looking forward to his growth. At that time, I'll kill him with a single slash. The tall middle-aged man sneered, and a terrifying light flashed in his eyes. Soon after, the two of them disappeared again, and no one noticed. In the restaurant, Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei returned once again. Haha, awesome, this is awesome! Just imagining the Reverence Moon Elder's face makes me want to laugh. Fatty Luo laughed loudly. Du Fei was also shocked. Brother Lin, amazing, I didn't expect you to be so strong. I dare to bet that even if he were to face a true saint, he wouldn't be too far off. Come, let's not leave until we're drunk. Several people laughed loudly and drank the spiritual wine together. They only left when night fell. Fatty Luo and Du Fei rented a mansion in Hanyang Ancient City. Lin Xian didn't have a place to stay, so he went with them. Late at night, the starry sky twinkled quietly. Lin Xian returned to his room, but he didn't sleep. Instead, he refined the spirit wine. After which, his eyes flickered with a profound light. Today's battle seemed easy, but it also gave him a lot of inspiration. After all, Cowherd was a candidate for Holy Sun. His strength was extremely powerful among the younger generation. Although Lin Xian did not use many moves, each of his moves was done with 120% of his concentration, using all of his strength. At this moment, he recalled the battle during the day once again to gain experience. At the same time, he held a piece of supreme-grade substandard divine crystal in his hand, and quickly absorbed the energy inside. Although he had killed Miao Lang, he didn't let his guard down. Miao Lang was only one of the candidates. Above him were the holy sons and the geniuses of other sects. Therefore, Lin Xian had to cultivate with all his strength to maintain his valiant battle strength and not fall behind the others. One had to know that the geniuses of the true spirit world were born with countless natural treasures, especially the geniuses of the Shi family and the holy lands of the primordial era. They were the favorites of heaven and earth. However, he had just arrived here. Therefore, he had to cultivate even harder to catch up to the others. He spent the entire night cultivating. The next day, Lin Xian opened his eyes as the sun rose in the east. The supreme-grade substandard divine crystal in his hand had already dimmed. There wasn't much energy left in it. However, Lin Xian's strength had increased again. Not long after, Fatty Luo and Du Fei walked over with smiles on their faces. They dragged Lin Xian to the street for breakfast. The group went out again. After breakfast, they strolled around freezing Sun Valley City. The situation this time was obviously different. Not long after Lin Xian walked on the street, many people cupped their fists at him. "Morning, Brother Lin!" "Morning," Lin Xian replied with a smile. He knew that this was the effect of yesterday's battle. Now, no one dared to look down on him. However, Fatty Luo and Du Fei exclaimed lightly. Then, their eyes lit up as they looked ahead, as if they had found something good. "Brother Lin, come and take a look," the two greeted. Lin Xian was puzzled. He also looked ahead. Then, he was slightly taken aback. Because what appeared in front of him wasn't a treasure, but a woman. The woman was wearing a long blue dress. She had bright eyes and white teeth. She was incomparably beautiful and had an otherworldly aura. She was like a fairy from the Moon Palace. She was extremely beautiful. "What a beautiful woman!" the surrounding people exclaimed. Indeed, even Lin Xian nodded. Whether it was her appearance, figure, or temperament, there was nothing wrong with her. "Who is she?" Lin Xian asked. "The Saintess of the Moon Palace, the Moon Fairy." "Why, are you interested?" Fatty Luo said with a smile. Du Fei also joked. "I dare to bet that Brother Lin must be tempted." The two laughed. "We've always had a wish since we were young. That is to snatch the saintess of a large sect and make her our wife. I wonder if we have the chance this time?" Their voices weren't loud, but they weren't soft either. Therefore, the surrounding martial artists all heard them. Immediately, their eyes widened. They couldn't believe their ears. Snatch the saintess as a wife? What a joke! Perhaps even those from the supreme sacred grounds and the clan of the ancients wouldn't dare to say that. The corner of Lin Xian's mouth twitched. He knew that Fatty Luo and Du Fei were arrogant and daring, but he didn't expect them to have such a shocking idea. Even Fairy Guanghan, who was in the front, frowned. The Moon Palace disciples beside her looked even more gloomy. They glared at Lin Xian. Obviously, They were very unhappy with Fatty Luo and the others' words. Fatty Luo and Du Fei chuckled. They weren't afraid of the Moon Palace disciples' gazes at all. They even quickly sized up the Moon Fairy. How dare you blaspheme the saintess of our sect? You're courting death! The Moon Palace disciples couldn't stand it anymore. They strode forward and a terrifying aura enveloped Fatty Luo and Du Fei. Even Lin Xian and the mystical dragon and Hong were enveloped by it. As for Fatty Luo and Du Fei, they were still grinning. How dare we? How dare we? The saintess is beautiful. Of course she's there for others to see. We didn't say anything. Fatty Luo laughed even more viciously. That's right. Hit me if you can. Chapter 1605. You! The vast cold palace disciple was so angry that he vomited blood. This was a public area, so he naturally did not dare to attack. Lin Xian shook his head helplessly. He did not expect these two clowns to be so bold. The surrounding people's mouths twitched and their scalps went numb. They stared at Fatty Luo and Du Fei and whispered. Who were these two people? How dare they be so disrespectful to the saintess of the vast cold palace? However, judging from how arrogant the two of them were, they should be disciples of some powerful sect, right? Wasn't the person beside him Lin Xian? If he could be with such a genius, he must be of a high status. The crowd discussed fervently. In front of them, the vast cold palace's saintess frowned and turned to leave. Hey, fairy, don't go. Wait for me. Fatty Luo walked up to her and said with a smile, Fairy, I've missed you since we parted last time. Why don't we have a drink and chat? Haha, I bet that you have no chance, Fatty Luo. The fairy will not agree to your request, because she will accept my invitation. Du Fei also laughed, and directly walked up. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect these two people to block the vast cold palace's saintess. They were too bold. Even Lin Xian was surprised. The vast cold palace was a more powerful sect than Bai Yueshao. The vast cold palace's saintess was even more honorable. Some elders would have to bow to her when they saw her. But now, Fatty Luo and Du Fei didn't care at all and directly blocked his path. Lin Xian was very surprised to see the two's fearless appearance. Could it be that these two people had some shocking background? To be honest, Lin Xian was not very clear about the origins of these two people. However, they were all like-minded, so they were together. However, if he were to dig deeper, Lin Xian did not know which sect they were from. The vast cold palace's disciples were furious when they saw that someone was blocking their way. Some even drew their swords and sabers, ready to attack. Fatty Luo and Du Fei were still grinning, not showing any fear. The saintess of Guanghan waved her hand and dismissed the warriors around her. Then she said coldly, You two please step aside. I really don't have time for drinks. If you want to spar, I don't mind meeting the two of you in the lawless zone. When the time comes, I'm afraid that your elders won't say anything if I make you suffer. Sigh, forget about fighting and killing. Since you're not free, I won't force you. Fatty Luo shrugged and moved aside with Du Fei. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes widened. This was too shocking. The two people in front of them were on the same level as the saintess of Guanghan. They were even flirting with her. What was even more shocking was that the saintess of Guanghan did not get angry. She only threatened him. This was too illogical. Unless these two people had some shocking background, so that even the saintess of Guanghan did not dare to kill them. Heavens, who are these two people? What's their background? For a moment, everyone was discussing. Lin Xian also walked forward and said with a smile, It seems that the two of you are not simple people. It's nothing. Fatty Luo shook his head. We're just a group of disciples from aristocratic families. We like to eat, drink, and play. We don't have any big ambitions. Brother Lin, you won't alienate us because of our background, right? Du Fei asked on the other side. Why would I? You're my friends. Even if you're from the demon path, it doesn't matter. Lin Xian shrugged. Haha. Good. Just based on this sentence, you should drink a big cup, Fatty Luo laughed loudly. However, at this moment, a cold aura suddenly came from behind. It stared at them like a poisonous snake. Especially Lin Xian, the hair on his back stood up. He snorted coldly. The great dragon sword soul in his body circulated, and a warm current instantly flowed through his body. The strange feeling disappeared. In the next moment, he turned around and stared at the back with a lightning-like gaze. He had just killed the candidate of the moon-worshipping cult. It could be said that he was in the limelight. Ordinary people would not dare to provoke him. But now, someone was releasing killing intent toward him. It seemed that this person was very arrogant. On the side, Fatty Luo also turned around and shouted coldly. Who dares release killing intent toward me? Do you want to die? Everyone was also shocked and did not understand the situation. However, in the next moment, they cried out in surprise. This was because several figures were walking toward them on the street behind them. The crowd dispersed like the tide. Moon-worshipping cult! It's the moon-worshipping cult! They're here again! Everyone exclaimed. They did not expect the moon-worshipping cult to make a comeback so soon. Sure enough, a few figures walked over from behind. One of them had a tall figure, and his gaze was as sharp as a blade. It was extremely fierce. A piece of moonlight was embroidered on his sleeve. There was even a hazy full moon behind him. This person was also followed by several disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. At this moment, they were looking at Lin Xian with a sneer. You are Lin Xian? The tall youth's eyes were like lightning as he stared ahead and asked in a cold voice. Yes, I am. Lin Xian nodded coldly, then asked. Who are you? Tell me your name. I don't kill nameless people. Haha, you're as arrogant as the rumors say. But boy, you dared to kill the people of the moon-worshipping cult. I'll take your dog life. Someone said the same thing before, but now, he's a dead man. I advise you not to boast. Are the people of the moon-worshipping cult only good at talking? Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. You're courting death. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult shouted angrily, their expressions abnormally ferocious. However, Lin Xian shrugged indifferently. This was a public area. No matter how arrogant the other party was, they wouldn't dare to make a move here. The tall young man snorted. Boy, you're too arrogant. Don't think you can be arrogant just because you killed a cowherd. I don't care about that kind of trash. That's right. This is our senior brother, Tianhu. He's a 5-star king. Boy, you're dead this time. What? Tianhu? It's him. 5-star king. As expected, the moon-worshipping cult is really angry this time. They actually sent such a powerful expert. Tianhu was also one of the candidates, but his strength was much stronger than Niu Lang's. Niu Lang was only a 4-star king, but Tianhu was a 5-star king. His strength was incomparably terrifying. He was even said to be the most likely candidate to become the next saint. 5-star king? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. No wonder the other party was so arrogant. He indeed had the right to be arrogant. 5-star king was already very terrifying among the younger generation. Moreover, as a candidate of the saint's position, the other party should have more cultivation methods and abilities. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm, and he didn't show any fear. In the past 2 days he had absorbed another piece of supreme-grade substandard divine crystal, which allowed his cultivation base to rise again. His strength had also improved a lot. Even if he faced a 5-star king, he could still handle it. Chapter 1606. Brat, you're too arrogant. How dare you say that my moon-worshipping cult's younger generation is weak? I'll kill you right now! Do you dare to fight to the death? Another fight to the death? Everyone was shocked. It seemed like the moon-worshipping cult was truly enraged this time. They wouldn't stop until they killed Lin Xian. At this moment, everyone wanted to know Lin Xian's answer. In fact, it was normal for Lin Xian to refuse at this time. Because he had just killed the successor Holy Prince Niu Lang, gained fame, and dealt a blow to the moon-worshipping cult. He didn't need to fight anymore. Moreover, his opponent this time, Tian Hu, was too powerful. He was a true 5-star king with terrifying strength. If Lin Xian were to duel with him, it was very likely that Lin Xian would be defeated or even killed. Therefore, everyone guessed that Lin Xian wouldn't agree. However, Lin Xian sneered. "Since you're in a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Not only you, from now on, as long as you're from the moon-worshipping cult's younger generation, I'll kill you," Lin Xian said coldly. His voice was filled with boundless killing intent, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. Many people couldn't believe their ears. Tian Hu sneered. "Very good, you've agreed. Just wait to collect your corpse. Enjoy your last moments obediently." After saying that, he sneered and turned around to leave. The moon-worshipping cult's disciples and their friendly sects sneered. Tian Hu was dead for sure this time. Even Fatty Luo and Du Fei had a solemn expression. They said, "Brother Lin, be careful. Although this Tian Hu is arrogant, he's really strong. That cowherd can't compare to him. Brat, can you do it? If you can't, then don't fight. When we're strong enough, we'll tear down the moon-worshipping cult." The Crimson Dragon also advised. "It's fine." Lin Xian shook his head slightly. With the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, his speed had reached the limit. It could be said that he was invincible. However, for safety's sake, he decided to cut out a few pieces of supreme-grade substandard divine crystals for cultivation. Therefore, he, Fatty Luo, and the others went on the road again and went to a place that sold gambling stones. This time, Lin Xian used his martial Dao Celestial Eye to cut out another 2 pieces of subgrade divine crystals, which immediately attracted countless exclamations. They had long heard of Lin Xian's soul-seeking technique, but now, they had seen him easily cut out 2 pieces of substandard divine crystals. These people couldn't take it anymore. Their eyes were red with jealousy. However, no one dared to make a move. Because this was a public area, fighting was prohibited. Lin Xian didn't hesitate either. He sat down cross-legged in the public area with the 2 best quality sub-divine crystals and began to cultivate. His current strength was already comparable to a 5-star king. However, if he could take another step forward, killing Tian Hu wouldn't be difficult. He circulated the immortality incantation and quickly absorbed the energy inside the substandard divine crystal. A faint light illuminated the surroundings. However, someone in the crowd sneered. "Don't you think it's too late to cultivate now?" "That's right. The duel is about to start. Even if he absorbs now, how much can he improve? What an idiot!" It was a pity that 2 pieces of supreme-grade substandard divine crystals were going to be used on a person who was about to die. Many people sneered, thinking that Lin Xian was going to lose and that it was useless to do anything now. However, some people shook their heads because Lin Xian could still maintain a calm state of mind and cultivate silently. This kind of temperament was rare and could achieve great things. However, Lin Xian didn't care about these people. He separated a part of his soul power to observe the surroundings. The rest of his energy was used to absorb the energy with all his might. Time passed slowly. Finally, the 2 pieces of substandard divine crystals in Lin Xian's hand dimmed. As for his cultivation, it was also rapidly increasing. It had become much stronger than before. Now, he had reached the middle 2-star king realm. The great dragon sword soul in his body was filled with power like a real divine beast. "It's done!" Feeling the power in his body, the corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up slightly. If he was 80% sure that he could defeat Lin Xian before, then he was 100% sure that he could kill Lin Xian now. "Let's go to the lawless zone," Lin Xian said indifferently. "Haha, there's a good show to watch again." Fatty Luo was excited. Du Fei was even more direct. "Let's bet! Let's bet! A shocking battle, a rare showdown! Bet on who you think will win! Come, come, come! Place your bets!" The surrounding martial artists had nothing to do, so they placed their bets one after another. Of course, most of them bet on Tian Hu. It couldn't be helped because Tian Hu was too famous and powerful. He was a true 5-star King realm expert. Although Lin Xian was powerful, he was still much weaker than Tian Hu. Especially when Lin Xian had to rely on divine crystals to improve his cultivation before the battle. This made everyone suspicious. In fact, the odds had even risen to 1-5. However, Fatty Luo placed his bet on Lin Xian and added a portion of the dark red dragon as well. Soon, the lawless zone became lively again. The commotion this time was even more shocking than before. Lin Xian had already made a name for himself. Now, the entire ancient Hanyang city knew about this new genius. Tian Hu's name had always been very famous. Therefore, this could be seen as a showdown between the new and old geniuses. This competition had even startled the other sky prides. The Guanghan Saintess of the Guanghan Palace and the 5 Elements, Saint of the 5 Elements sect came to watch the battle. Among the crowd, the people of the Reverence Moon cult occupied the best spot. This time, they gritted their teeth and swore that they would see Lin Xian killed with their own eyes. Among them, the Reverence Moon Elder's expression was gloomy and cold. His gaze was piercingly cold. He wanted to see how arrogant Lin Xian could be today. Everyone was paying close attention and looking forward to it. This was because this battle would definitely be very exciting. They had already seen Lin Xian's methods yesterday. Although he was only a 2-star king, the strength he displayed was enough to contend with a 5-star king. As for Tian Hu, he was a true 5-star king. His strength was even more terrifying. No one knew how strong he was. However, they knew that a few months ago, Tian Hu had killed 3 5-star kings of the older generation. This achievement could be said to be very shocking. Pung pung pung. Tian Hu's figure was tall and his aura was violent. He was like a giant walking in the void. There was even a muffled sound of thunder under his feet. Thunderclap steps. This is the Earth-grade martial art, Thunderclap steps. This Tian Hu was indeed powerful. He used an Earth-grade martial art right off the bat. It seemed like he was determined to kill his opponent. Sure enough, with the Thunderclap steps, Tian Hu strode into the life and death arena. He then looked around and shouted coldly, "Brat, get over here and die!" With a furious roar, lightning fell from the sky and pierced through the void. That terrifying strength made everyone's scalp go numb. Chapter 1607. Brat, get over here and die! With a furious roar, lightning fell from the sky and pierced through the void. That terrifying force made everyone's scalp go numb. So strong! This Tian Hu is probably one of the strongest 5-star kings. Yeah, that brat is going to be unlucky. It's too much for him to fight Tian Hu now. If he's given another 10 years, he might be able to surpass Tian Hu. Indeed, Lin Xian's brat is too young. He's only a 2-star king. If he's a 5-star king, Tian Hu won't be a match for him. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. In their opinion, Lin Xian was too arrogant. Fighting a 5-star king with his current cultivation was like hitting a rock with an egg. On the other side, Lin Xian, Fatty Luo, Du Fei, and the others had not arrived yet, but they heard the thunderous voice and terrifying aura. Fatty Luo and Du Fei's expressions changed again. They said in a low voice, "Brother Lin, be careful. Don't worry about it." Lin Xian patted both of their shoulders and strode over. As he took a step forward, a mysterious Tao pattern appeared under his feet. It looked like a swimming dragon. In the next moment, he appeared in the arena. What a fast movement technique! Lin Xian's movement technique shocked many people. This movement technique should also be an Earth-grade martial art. And it doesn't look any weaker than the Thunder Shock steps. No wonder you could kill Niu Lang. It turns out that you have such a movement technique. In the arena, Tian Hu was also surprised, but soon, he sneered. Unfortunately, you have no chance of winning against me. Because my Thunder Shock steps is a high-grade martial art. Tian Hu was very confident because a high-grade Earth-grade martial art was very mysterious. Even he had not fully grasped it yet. However, he believed that with his Thunder Shock steps, he could easily kill his opponent. A high-grade earth-grade martial art? I see. Lin Xian nodded. His expression was calm, but he snorted disdainfully in his heart. Heavenly Dragon's 8 Steps was a primordial immortal scripture martial art. It could be said to be a rare treasure. How could a mere high-grade earth-rank martial art compare to his Heavenly Dragon's 8 Steps? Therefore, in the next moment, he said indifferently, a high-grade earth-tier martial art is indeed not bad. I just don't know how far you can go. Make your move. Let me see if your movement technique is as arrogant as yours. Lin Xian casually waved his hand. You're courting death. When Tianhu saw this, he was furious. He was a 5-star King Realm expert, and he was extremely powerful. The other party actually dared to look down on him? Unforgivable. Therefore, in the next moment, he coldly snorted and took a step forward. The sound of thunder came from his body. Immediately, the entire void trembled as countless bolts of lightning fell from the sky. Just the sound of the thunder was enough to pierce through the void. However, Lin Xian stood with his hands clasped behind his back. The space around him was unusually stable, and there were no ripples at all. What? What a terrifying power! It can actually affect this space. When the surrounding people saw Lin Xian's move, they were all shocked. Tianhu roared. As his palms opened and closed, a ferocious tiger formed by lightning quickly pounced out. A roar shook the mountains and rivers. The ferocious tiger was extremely powerful, and it quickly charged towards Lin Xian. In an instant, the entire sky was completely covered by a sea of lightning. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As for Lin Xian, his body swayed, leaving countless afterimages in the air. They were densely packed and filled the sky. It was impossible to tell which was real and which was fake. Humph! Omnidirectional thunderstorm! Destroy them all! Tianhu waved his hand, and suddenly, the violent power of lightning exploded, enveloping Lin Xian's afterimages. Ha ha! So what if you're fast? In the face of absolute power, nothing can withstand a single blow. He looked forward, his eyes flashing, and a sinister smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Is that so? But I'll have to disappoint you. At this moment, a faint voice came from behind him. Hearing this voice, Tianhu's pupils shrank, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. Damn it, how is this possible? He was horrified. He did not expect that the other party had dodged all his attacks and secretly appeared behind him. However, he was also a decisive person. With a wave of his hand, a lightning sword formed in his palm, and it quickly pierced behind him. Die, brat! The lightning sword flashed, piercing through the void at an extremely fast speed. Before the surrounding people could react, the lightning sword blasted Lin Xian's body and pierced through it. What? He hit him! Seeing this, the crowd was in an uproar, unable to believe it. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. I knew it. That kid is dead meat. In a battle between experts, the outcome was often decided in one move. Now it seemed that this was true. What an idiot! He dared to fight with senior brother Tianhe. His brain must have been flooded with water. He's finished. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult sneered. Tianhu's lips curled into a sinister smile, and a low voice came from his mouth. Hee, kid, it's all over. Boom! However, at this moment, a shining fist suddenly appeared in the void and slammed into Tianhu's face, sending him flying. Boom! The void exploded, and the entire sky trembled. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. What's going on? What's going on? Who attacked him? Wasn't that kid killed? Why is there still someone attacking Tianhu? At this moment, everyone's mind went blank. Damn it! Who is it? Tianhu was also mad. He spat out his broken teeth and roared crazily. Of course it's me. You're really an idiot. Do you really think you can keep up with my speed? Lin Xian slowly walked out of the void. His body floated like a banished immortal. His entire body exuded a supreme aura, and he did not look injured at all. What? This is impossible. I clearly stabbed you. Seeing that his opponent was unharmed, Tianhu's eyes widened in disbelief. The next moment he screamed, "Damn it, that was also an afterimage?" "What?" the surrounding people exclaimed. They could not believe that what Tianhu stabbed was actually an afterimage. How fast was Lin Xian's speed? How could he hide from everyone? "Damn it, I don't believe it. I don't believe that you can beat my thunder shock steps," Tianhu roared crazily. His footwork was incomparably terrifying. With his huge body, he was like a gust of wind as he charged forward quickly. Thunder shock steps, thunder shock step. This was an advanced Earth-class movement technique, and its speed was terrifying to the extreme. Almost no one in the same class could match it. However, he was unlucky to meet Lin Xian. Swoosh! Swoosh! The two of them moved quickly in the air. Lin Xian used Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, and within 8 steps, he was extremely fast. Therefore, no matter how fast the Thunder Shock steps was, it could not catch up with Lin Xian. Instead, there were many footprints on Tianhu's body. Chapter 1608. At this moment, his hair was disheveled and he looked extremely pathetic. He no longer had the arrogance and haughtiness from before. "Tianhu? What are you doing? Don't compete with him in terms of speed. Just kill him!" At this moment, Elder Baiwei, who was below, shouted coldly. After Tianhu heard this, he stopped and his eyes regained their clarity. He was no longer in a frenzy. Instead, he revealed a ferocious expression. "I admit that you're faster than me, but so what? Today is a battle of life and death. It's not just a competition of speed. I'll let you know that other than speed, you have nothing else." He roared and lightning flashed all over his body. Countless bolts of lightning surged and covered the entire arena like a thundercloud. "Kid, I've already sealed the arena with divine lightning. Let's see how you're going to escape." Tianhu revealed a ferocious expression again. Everyone's expression changed and they started to worry for Lin Xian. "Oh no, he's sealed in the arena. Lin Xian won't be able to escape. Yeah, he's confined in a certain space. Even if he has the ultimate movement technique, it won't be of much use." However, Lin Xian sneered. "Why should I escape? Do you think you can defeat me?" "Humph!" Tianhu roared. "Kid, I think you won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Fine, I'll kill you now and let you know the consequences of offending me." There was a rumbling sound. Tianhu waved his fist and endless lightning surrounded him. The terrifying power caused the entire space to tremble. "This is my lightning tiger territory. Let's see how you're going to escape this time." Tianhu laughed heartily at the sky. With a wave of his hand, countless majestic figures surged out and charged at Lin Xian. "I don't need to dodge to deal with you." Lin Xian looked calm. He clenched his fist and pulled out the 9 darkness demonic sword from the empty palace. He slashed forward. Like a volcanic eruption, the sword chi in the sky slashed down quickly and instantly shattered all the lightning tigers. The terrifying sword chi caused the entire space to tremble. "What? So powerful!" Seeing this sword chi, everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. They thought that since Lin Xian was sealed in the space, he had no advantage in speed and couldn't move at all. Only death awaited him. But now, it seemed that they were all wrong. The reason for that was because not only was his speed extremely fast, but his battle prowess was also incomparably terrifying. With a single sword strike, he was able to cut through countless bolts of lightning. Such a technique was unheard of. Tianhu's expression also changed. He did not expect the other party's combat strength to be so strong. This was completely out of his expectations. However, he gritted his teeth and swung his fist again. Because he had no other choice. Only by killing the person before him could he win. Punch after punch, the shocking power was like a wave, destroying everything. The entire space fell into nothingness, and the lightning in the sky quickly fell, one after another, bombarding all directions. Underworld Dao waning moon break. Lin Xian waved the nine-held devil sword, directly cutting open a spatial crack. It was as if he had opened the gates of hell, causing the endless energy storm to be completely devoured. As for him, he was not harmed at all. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect that in addition to having extreme speed, Lin Xian also had such a strange and terrifying technique. What is that? Why did all the energy suddenly disappear? It's a space technique, it's a space technique. He can actually make use of space. Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. They had never seen such a technique before. Tian, whose face was even more dazed. He did not expect that his violent energy could not hurt the other party. This made him unable to believe it. However, opposite him, Lin Xian said coldly, "You've finished your attack, now it's my turn. Azure Dragon Break!" With a thrust of his sword, a sword light appeared in the void, like an azure dragon, quickly rushing forward. Boom! The lightning tiger shadows that filled the sky were shattered into pieces at this moment, no longer existing. Tian, who was also sent flying by this move. Fortunately, at the critical moment, he summoned an ancient shield, which blocked most of the attack. Otherwise, this attack would definitely have pierced through him. However, he was not in a good state now. That terrifying sword chi directly penetrated his body, causing him to suffer extremely serious injuries. Even his spiritual power could not circulate smoothly. Not bad, as expected of a 5-star king. You can actually block my sword. Indeed, you have some skills. Lin Xian nodded slightly. Indeed, an ordinary 4-star king would not be able to block his move at all. However, the other party blocked it. Although he was injured, it was not fatal. Hearing this, Tian, whose face turned gloomy. It was very unpleasant. Who was he? He was a 5-star king. A successor candidate. He was so powerful that even the older generation could not suppress him. But now, a 2-star king dared to look down on him? This was intolerable. Damn it, go to hell! With a furious roar, Tian, whose black hair fluttered. His body was tall and carried a murderous aura. He was really mad. He had to kill the other party to vent his anger. The next moment, he waved his palms, and a full moon appeared in his palms, emitting a red glow. In his right palm, a lightning tiger circled. Both palms struck out together, shaking heaven and earth. The momentum was extremely vast. The red full moon floated in the sky, carrying monstrous flames that spread in all directions. The lightning tiger phantom was even more terrifying. As soon as it appeared in the sky, divine lightning descended from all directions. It was like a heavenly tribulation. This terrifying scene shocked everyone and they quickly retreated. Lin Xian held the demonic sword in his hand, his eyes emitting a cold light. In the next moment, endless sword light bloomed from his body. The demonic sword in his hand slashed down. The sword light was as thick as a mountain, terrifying to the extreme. The full moon in the sky and the terrifying lightning tiger were split apart by the sword. What? Impossible! Tian, who was shocked and in disbelief. This was already his full-strength attack. Why couldn't he resist the other party? Could it be that the other party was really so powerful? Surpassed him? This made him in disbelief. In the next moment, his expression changed drastically. Because he discovered that the other party was quickly charging towards him. In an instant, he had already arrived in front of him. Get lost! Tian, who roared angrily and threw a punch that carried shocking thunder and lightning. However, he collided with a green sword shadow. A green domain appeared around the other party, shining with a cold light, making his hair stand on end. This domain was naturally Lin Xian's dragon sword domain. He stood in the domain like a sword god, and the demonic sword in his hand was shining with a cold light. In the next moment, he held the demonic sword in his hand and directly stabbed forward. Let's end this! Puff! The 9 underworld demonic sword pierced into the other party's body, directly breaking open a black hole. Tian, who struggled frantically, wanting to resist, but there was nothing he could do. In the end, his entire body was pierced by the sword chi, and countless sword marks appeared. All of his meridians were destroyed, and his entire body stopped breathing as he fell to the ground. Chapter 1609. Boom! A loud explosion shook the stage. Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that the terrifying Tian Hu, a 5-star king, had been killed. Especially the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. Their bodies began to tremble as if they had seen a ghost. Impossible! Damn it! How could this brat kill senior brother Tian Hu? They were going crazy. Yesterday, he had killed their senior brother Niu. Today, he had killed their senior brother Tian Hu. They couldn't accept it. Those were two latecomers, after all. They had died in the hands of the same person. It was too shocking. The elder of the moon-worshipping cult looked even more ferocious as killing intent surrounded his body. At this moment, he was finally enraged. Lin Fan had killed another one of their young geniuses. He couldn't explain it to the sect. Brat, go to hell! With a roar, the wind and clouds in the sky changed. The heavenly hand slapped down rapidly as if it wanted to smash Lin Xian into meat paste. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly as he executed the heavenly dragon's 8 steps. With extreme speed, he stepped out of the stage. Rumble! In the next moment, the ancient stage was covered by the heavenly hand. It shook violently, and cracks even appeared in some places. How terrifying! The elder of the moon-worshipping cult is too strong! However, what shocked everyone was that the elder had really made his move. He wanted to kill Lin Xian. Seeing that his attack didn't hit, the elder snorted coldly. With a wave of his hand, countless rays of blade light appeared in all directions. Each ray of blade light was like a crescent moon as they emitted a bright red light. Kill! With a roar, the crescent moon blade light slashed towards Lin Xian. In all directions, the entire space was in complete chaos. Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps, 8 steps extreme speed. Lin Xian let out a long roar as he pushed his footwork to the limit. At this moment, his figure was so fast that it was unbelievable. The blade light that filled the sky brushed past his body, but none of them hit him. What? He dodged all of them? No way! Everyone was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe it. Even the Reverence Moon Elder's face sank. He did not expect his opponent's movement technique to be so strange that he was able to dodge his attack. At the same time, he was extremely shocked. Such a person was too terrifying. If he was allowed to continue growing, he would definitely become a god of war in the future. Such a person must not be allowed to live. Otherwise, he would become a great enemy of moon-worshipping cult. F***ck, old man, you're too shameless. How dare you attack a junior? Come on, look. The moon-worshipping cult is shameless enough to assassinate a young genius. At this moment, Fatty Luo and Du Fei also roared furiously. Their voices were like thunder, shaking the surroundings. You're courting death. The elder of the moon-worshipping cult was furious. At this moment, he no longer cared about anything else and started attacking Fatty Luo and Du Fei. A full moon hung in the sky, like a huge mountain, quickly pressing down. On the other hand, Fatty Luo and Du Fei had cold smiles on their faces. In the next moment, they waved their hands, and an ancient pagoda appeared in the sky. It spun quickly and enveloped them. Pung! The red full moon crashed into the pagoda, causing the entire void to tremble. However, it did not break at all. Old man, how dare you attack me? You're dead meat. I bet that you'll regret it. Fatty Luo and Du Fei sneered, but they did not show any fear. They were very confident in their treasures. The others were also puzzled. They did not expect the pagoda to be able to block the elder's attack. It was not an ordinary object. Who exactly were these two people? First, they found trouble with the moon saintess. Now, they were provoking the elder. Could it be that they really had a shocking origin? At this moment, everyone was extremely puzzled. The elder of the moon-worshipping cult had gone completely crazy. He could not kill Lin Xian, and now even Fatty Luo and Du Fei could not do anything to him? This was intolerable. In the next moment, he stretched out his hand and directly grabbed the pagoda in the sky, wanting to blast it away. The pagoda was extremely dazzling, blooming with dazzling light as it resisted the terrifying palm. At the same time, Fatty Luo sneered. "Old man, you're really dead meat." After saying that, he took out another object from his chest and threw it forward. "Not good!" Seeing this scene, everyone's face changed drastically, and they quickly retreated. They were afraid that the other party would take out another destructive weapon. However, in the next moment, they were stunned. Because the other party took out a silver token and threw it on the ground. "What is this? Is it another treasure?" Everyone was puzzled and looked carefully. However, after waiting for a long time, they did not see any changes. The elder of the moon-worshipping cult sneered. "Little thing, are you trying to scare me? Really?" Before he could finish his words, he looked at the token on the ground in front of him. However, in the next moment, his voice stopped. He screamed as if he had encountered the most terrifying thing in his life. "Damn it, why do you have this thing?" The elder of the moon-worshipping cult quickly withdrew his hand. He should not have attacked at all. "What is the relationship between you and the person who has this token?" The elder of the moon-worshipping cult asked in shock. There was even a trace of trembling in his voice. "Why don't you guess?" Fatty Luo sneered, and Du Fei snorted. "Old man, I can guarantee that you're really dead this time. I didn't know your identity before." "I'm sorry." The elder of the moon-worshipping cult's face darkened as he quickly apologized. Then, his figure flashed, and he quickly left with all the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. "What? They left just like that?" Everyone was stunned, not knowing what had happened. Lin Xian was also surprised. He did not expect that Fatty Luo would take out a silver token and scare away the elder of the moon-worshipping cult. "What exactly is that silver token? Who are Fatty Luo and the others?" He was extremely puzzled. The Crimson Dragon's eyes flickered when it saw the silver token. It had been suppressed in the Tianwu continent for thousands of years and did not understand the changes in the true spirit world. However, it still felt that the silver token was very familiar. "Humph, you ran fast." Fatty Luo snorted coldly and put away the silver token. Then, he turned to Lin Xian and said with a smile, "Brother Lin, you're too strong. You killed another holy prince candidate of the moon-worshipping cult." "That's right. I bet they're absolutely mad." The two of them cheered. On the side, the Crimson Dragon also breathed a sigh of relief. As for the surrounding cultivators, they were all dumbfounded. Even now, they still could not believe that Tianhu had been killed. "Let's go." Lin Xian also breathed a sigh of relief. His figure flickered, and he landed on the ground. Then, the group of people walked out. The crowd automatically moved aside, making a path for them. Many people even trembled when they saw Lin Xian. It was obvious that the means that Lin Xian had displayed earlier had terrified them. However, at this time, two figures appeared in front of them. Chapter 16:10. The crowd automatically moved aside to make a path for him. Many people even trembled slightly when they saw Lin Xian. Obviously, the means that Lin Xian had displayed earlier had terrified them. However, at this moment, two figures appeared in front of him again. One was a handsome young man, and the other was a tall middle-aged man. Both of them wore black robes and cloaks, hiding their true appearances. They didn't block the way and just brushed past Lin Xian. However, when they walked past Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. It was a huge shock, as if he had received an earth-shattering threat. "What is this?" He quickly turned around and looked behind him. However, the two mysterious figures didn't stop at all. Instead, they quickly walked into the crowd and disappeared. "Who are those two?" Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Even the Reverence Moon Elder wasn't able to shock him. However, the two of them made his hair stand on end just by walking past him. They must be peerless experts. Lin Xian guessed that these two people were at least at the almighty level. Otherwise, he wouldn't have such a reaction. What's wrong? Fatty Luo asked in confusion. They didn't feel that unusual aura. Nothing. Lin Xian shook his head. The other party should be a peerless expert passing by and shouldn't have any interaction with him. Let's go back. I'm a little tired from this battle. Their figures swayed and disappeared from the street. Back in his room, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He had consumed a lot of energy in this battle, so he quickly sat down cross-legged to recover his strength. At the same time, the Crimson Dragon sent a voice transmission to him, asking him to prepare some materials to set up a formation. Although the Crimson Dragon was puzzled, he still did as he was told. In the evening, Lin Xian opened his eyes. He had recovered to his peak state. Kid, why did you ask me to prepare these formations? Of course. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. Moon-worshipping cult and I are already mortal enemies. That elder of the moon-worshipping cult must be unwilling to accept this. Who knows when he will try to assassinate me? Instead of being on tenterhooks, why don't we take the initiative and kill him? You want to make a move? That's great. That old man, I'm also annoyed just by looking at him. Brat, I'll help you deal with him. Lin Xian nodded, but then reminded. Don't tell Fatty and Du Fei about this. Save them the trouble of worrying. Also, we'll take action after midnight. I understand. And Hong Mystical Dragon chuckled. Then, she started studying the array again. On the other hand, Lin Xian closed his eyes again. He took out 2 subdivine crystals and began to cultivate. At night, the ancient city of Hanyang was very lively. People were dancing and singing. In the southwest of the ancient city of Hanyang, there was a huge mansion. This was the residence of the moon-worshipping cult. At this moment, the atmosphere in the mansion was gloomy and even a little cold. Every disciple of the moon-worshipping cult wore a solemn expression. This was because they had lost 2 holy sun candidates in a short span of 2 days. This was unacceptable to them. Elder, why did we give up the best opportunity to kill that brat during the day? That's right, Elder. That brat is too hateful. We can't take this lying down. In the main hall, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult wore a ferocious expression. The moon-worshipping elder, who was sitting at the front, had a dark expression. What do you know? That silver token has a terrifying origin. Even I don't dare to provoke it. Hearing this, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult were shocked. They didn't expect the silver token to have such a terrifying origin. Even their elders were extremely fearful of them. But soon, they gritted their teeth and said, Are we really going to give up and let that brat be arrogant? Give up? How can we? That brat killed our moon-worshipping cult's genius. We must kill him. However, we can't be reckless. At the very least, we can't make a move in front of the 2 brats who have the silver token. Don't worry, they won't be together forever. As long as that Lin Xian is alone, we'll kill him immediately. Yes, not only him, but also his 2 pets. We have to kill them as well. The female disciple gritted her teeth. Until now, the scar on her face had not healed. Don't worry. The moon-worshipping cult's elder sneered. Since he dares to provoke our moon-worshipping cult, I'll make him suffer a fate worse than death. He'll regret being born in this world. The group of people burst into laughter again. Is that so? You're really vicious. It seems like we really can't let you stay in this world. Suddenly, a cold voice echoed in the main hall. As soon as this voice came out, it immediately shocked everyone. Who is it? Come out. Coming to our moon-worshipping cult's territory and acting so atrociously, I think you don't want to live anymore. Angry roars echoed in the hall. The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult were furious. They didn't expect that someone would dare to act atrociously in their territory. No need to shout, I'm right in front of you. A cold sneer sounded again. Then, a figure appeared in the middle of the hall. What? It's you! Seeing the figure, everyone from the moon-worshipping cult was dumbfounded. They couldn't believe their eyes. Because the person who came was none other than Lin Xian. Brat, it's really you! Everyone was shocked. Then, they burst into laughter. There's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Since you dared to come here to die, I'll let you know the consequences of offending our moon-worshipping cult. The moon-worshipping cult's elder wasn't the only one who sneered. The other disciples of the moon-worshipping cult also burst into laughter. They didn't expect that Huang Xiaolong would dare to come to their territory. However, they didn't let their guard down. They were afraid that Huang Xiaolong would bring some powerful experts with him. Therefore, in the next moment, they quickly spread out their soul force and scanned the area. Other than Lin Xian, there were no other experts. Immediately, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Brat, I have to say, you're too stupid. How dare you come here alone? But this is good too. It saves me the trouble of looking for you everywhere. I'll use your head as a sacrifice to my moon-worshipping cult's geniuses. You talk too much. Lin Xian was getting impatient. I'm here today to deal with all of you. If you have any tricks up your sleeve, just use them. Deal with us? Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe their ears. Brat, you're too arrogant. Who do you think you are? How dare you say you're going to deal with us? The Reverend Moon Elder sneered disdainfully. He didn't believe Huang Xiaolong. No matter how strong Huang Xiaolong was, he was only at Tianhu's level. However, as the Reverend Moon Elder, he was stronger than Tianhu. Other than the Reverend Moon Elder, there were dozens of moon-worshipping cult's disciples. They were all elite experts. How could Huang Xiaolong defeat all of them by himself? Therefore, in the Reverend Moon Elder's opinion, Lin Xian's actions were no different than sending himself to death. Alone? Who said I'm alone? Lin Xian snorted coldly. The corner of his lips curled up into a cold smile. Chapter 16:11. What? He's not alone? There's someone else? Who did you bring with you? Everyone's heart skipped a beat when they heard Huang Xiaolong's words. Even the Reverend Moon Elder's face turned solemn. If Huang Xiaolong really brought some expert with him, it would be hard to say what would happen. Of course it's Ben Wang! A loud roar reverberated through the air as the dark god dragon's figure appeared in the hall. What? A four-horned snake? Everyone was stunned for a moment before they burst into laughter. Ha ha! Brat, I think water must have entered your brain. You actually brought a four-legged snake? Do you think you can kill us with just the two of you? What a joke! Pa! You're the snakes, a bunch of ants. You've really angered Ben Wang. Ben Wang will definitely cook you and eat you later. The Crimson Dragon snorted coldly. Lin Xian asked. How is it? Is the formation set up? Don't worry, it's already set up. The entire mansion has been sealed up. Even if a huge battle breaks out here, no one outside will know. That's good. Lin Xian nodded his head. This way, he wouldn't have to worry about anything else. What? It's sealed up? And no one outside will know? That's great! The Reverend Moon cult's disciples roared with laughter. The Reverend Moon Elder's face was twisted with malevolence. Brat, I was worried that you'd attract the attention of the law enforcement team. Who would have thought that you'd actually use a formation to seal up the entire mansion? This will save me a lot of trouble. Since that's the case, you can go to hell. The Reverend Moon Elder was overjoyed. Huang Xiaolong's actions had saved him a lot of trouble. Therefore, he didn't hold back at all. A red palm carrying boundless raging flames quickly reached out and slapped towards Lin Xian. Wherever it passed, the entire void was distorted. Lin Xian's figure flickered as he dodged the most violent attack. He arrived at the side of the hall, and a resplendent sword light burst out from his body. The 9 nether devil swords slashed out, and black sword chi swept across the void. It sliced apart the sea of flames, creating a vacuum. Then, several sword chi streaked through the air and slashed forward. Without the sea of flames blocking their path, the black sword chi arrived before the Reverend Moon Elder in no time. Boom! The Reverend Moon Elder roared in anger. He clenched his other hand into a fist and punched out. It collided with the terrifying sword chi, producing a tearing sound. Two black holes appeared in the void, and terrifying energy swept out in all directions. The entire hall was torn apart in an instant. The surrounding moon-worshipping cult's disciples retreated frantically. Their faces were filled with fear. The shockwaves of this energy had already exceeded the limits of what they could bear. They didn't dare to approach at all. However, these people were not idle either. One by one, they drew their swords and sabers and used their ultimate techniques to attack Hang's divine dragon. In their opinion, they might not be able to defeat Lin Xian, but how could they not be able to defeat a four-legged snake? At this moment, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult vented all their anger on the Crimson Dragon. However, they soon realized that they were wrong. Furthermore, he was ridiculously wrong. The Crimson Dragon's strength was not something they could imagine. This was a mystical dragon, an absolutely terrifying existence. Soon, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult screamed in pain. Some of them were even smashed into a bloody mist. For a moment, everyone fled in a frenzy, wanting to leave this place. However, the entire mansion had already been sealed by the Crimson Dragon. They couldn't escape at all. No! Damn it, why can't it be broken? The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult roared in a frenzy. Fear filled their hearts. Only now did they realize how laughable they were. When they heard that Lin Xian and the others had sealed the mansion, they were filled with disdain. They thought that the other party had spun a cocoon around themselves. They were courting death. But now, it seemed like they were gravely mistaken. This seal was originally prepared for them. Now, none of them could escape. Could it be that this was all part of the other party's plan? Thinking of this, the disciples of the moon-worshipping cult fell into despair. On the other side, the Reverend Moon Elder and Lin Xian exchanged several blows. It was hard to determine the victor. However, in the next moment, when he saw his disciples being killed and fleeing, his face turned hideous. He didn't expect a four-legged snake to be so powerful. He even killed many of his disciples. This was intolerable. I'm going to kill you! The Reverend Moon Elder roared crazily. A fiery red light erupted from his body, stirring up the surrounding clouds. He was like a god of fire as he charged forward, wanting to kill the Crimson Dragon. Humph, your opponent is me! However, Lin Xian swung his sword. Terrifying black sword she roared in the air like a long river of the netherworld, blocking the Reverend Moon Elder's path. Lin Xian's sword she was extremely sharp. Even the Reverend Moon Elder didn't dare to take it head-on. Therefore, he could only use his martial arts to resist. Damn it! Get lost! A red fist flew out, bringing with it fiery red she waves. It was as if a full moon was descending from the sky. Not only that, but the sound of thunder could be heard. However, the black sword she was like a black dragon roaring. It circled around and collided with the fiery red fist, causing an earth-shattering explosion. At this time, a few more disciples were turned into blood mist. The Reverend Moon Elder had really gone crazy. He didn't expect things to turn out this way. Originally, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were like ants in his eyes. However, the strength displayed by the two of them shocked him to the core. He didn't dare to believe it. He couldn't wait any longer. He had to go all out. Otherwise, not many of his disciples would be able to survive. With a roar, the Reverend Moon Elder unleashed his powerful strength. In an instant, a sea of fire surged around him, and a full moon floated in the air. A full moon rising from a sea of fire. This was the Reverend Moon Elder's domain. Brat, you've really angered me. Today, I'll let you know the meaning of regret. The Reverend Moon Elder unleashed his king's domain, and his voice was unusually cold. At this moment, he displayed boundless confidence. It was as if he could destroy everything with a raise of his hand. Although you're strong, you're only a mid-stage 5-star king. Lin Xian's gaze was resolute, and he wasn't afraid at all. Indeed, he could still deal with a mid-stage 5-star king. You're too arrogant. I'll let you know my true strength. The Reverend Moon Elder was extremely confident. With a wave of his hand, a boundless sea of fire surged out. It carried with it thousands of rays of moonlight as it descended rapidly. Boom! The void exploded, and powerful energy surged in all directions, causing the entire space to tremble. Lin Xian also let out a long roar, and the dragon sword's spiritual domain was formed. Sword chi filled the sky, and a huge sword-shaped domain appeared in the void. After that, Lin Xian waved his hand, and countless rays of sword chi intersected, forming numerous green dragons that roared in all directions. In the next moment, the two kings' domains collided, and it was as if 100,000 mountains were shaking in the sky. Chapter 16:12. Lin Xian waved his hand, and countless streaks of sword chi intersected, forming numerous azure dragons that roared in all directions. In the next moment, the two king domains collided, and it was as if 100,000 mountains were shaking in the sky. Terrifying energy surged, and the entire void collapsed. The surrounding disciples of the Reverence Moon cult were sent flying by the shockwaves. Fortunately, the entire mansion was sealed by the Crimson Dragon, and no one outside could see what was going on. Otherwise, their jaws would have dropped to the ground. Pung pung pung. The two king domains collided continuously, and every strike was terrifying to the extreme. This is impossible! Damn it! How can your king domain be so strong? The Reverence Moon Elder went crazy, and he couldn't believe it. He was a 5-star king, and his king domain was extremely terrifying. His opponent was just a 2-star king, and under normal circumstances, his king domain could easily break through his opponent's domain. But now, he couldn't do it. His opponent's domain was too powerful, and it made his king domain tremble. I don't believe it! The Reverence Moon Elder roared madly, and his body emitted a dazzling light. At the same time, a biting cold killing intent shook the surroundings. At this moment, he pushed his combat strength to the limit, and he swore that he would eliminate the person in front of him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to sleep in the future. You don't believe it? Humph, then I'll beat you until you believe it! With a low growl, Lin Xian's right leg swept out. In an instant, the dragon's sword domain shook, and endless sword chi surrounded him. At this moment, Lin Xian's right leg was like an azure dragon, crossing the void, and sweeping forward with terrifying strength. The Reverence Moon Elder waved his hand, and the moonlight in the sky condensed into a long red blade that emitted a terrifying killing intent. In the next moment, he ruthlessly slashed forward. Boom boom! A shocking collision sound rang out, and the long blade slashed on the azure dragon's leg. However, he couldn't slash it down. Lin Xian's right leg was like a true dragon, and it was extremely powerful. Break for me! Lin Xian roared, and his right leg swung out again. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the kick shattered the red long saber. Not only that, but the Reverence Moon Elder also suffered a series of attacks, and he was sent flying in the air. Impossible! The disciples of the moon-worshipping cult shook their heads frantically when they saw this scene. They didn't expect that their own elder would actually be forced back. They couldn't believe it. The Reverence Moon Elder's face was extremely ugly. He couldn't believe that his opponent's strength had surpassed his own. Kid, I have to admit that you are a peerless genius. But since you dared to provoke my moon-worshipping cult, I can't let you live. Reverence Moon Elder's voice was filled with malevolence. Then, he took out a red pill and quickly swallowed it. I will kill you no matter the cost. He was like a mad beast, roaring furiously. In the next moment, his body rumbled like a real dragon. His blood and chi burned, and his strength rose again. Die! The Reverence Moon Elder roared, and his palm was like a red full moon as it slammed onto Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He didn't expect the Reverence Moon Elder to have such a move. At the critical moment, he executed the Mirror of Tranquility. Boundless sword chi revolved in front of him, forming a mirror to defend himself. However, this punch was truly too berserk. It directly blasted the mirror apart. Pun! Lin Xian was hit by the attack, and he quickly retreated. The energy in his body churned. This punch had injured him, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Ha ha! Kid, now you know how powerful I am. Today, you will die. The Reverend Moon Elder laughed maniacally when he saw that Huang Xiaolong was injured. Kid, are you all right? The Crimson Dragon exclaimed from afar. I'm fine, Lin Xian replied. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and quickly circulated the art of immortality, suppressing the restless energy and spiritual energy in his body. As expected of an elder, you are really strong. Your strength is much stronger than Tian Hu's. You actually managed to injure me. Lin Xian was surprised. He had to admit that the Reverend Moon Elder was a powerful opponent. Very good. It's been a long time since I met a worthy opponent. I hope you won't disappoint me. Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly, and he was extremely excited. Damn it! How did this happen? On the other side, the Reverend Moon Elder's face turned gloomy. This was completely different from what he had expected. He had injured Lin Xian with a single punch. Shouldn't Lin Xian be screaming in fear and disappointment? However, from the looks of it, Lin Xian seemed to be very excited. What was going on? How could the Reverend Moon Elder know that his punch had completely ignited Lin Xian's battle intent? At this moment, Lin Xian's blood was boiling. He was like a battle maniac, and he was extremely excited. Let me see how strong you are. Lin Xian executed the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps and charged forward with the Dragon Sword domain. When the Reverend Moon Elder saw Lin Xian, he roared, "You're courting death." He couldn't accept the fact that Lin Xian had taken the initiative to attack him. Not to mention, he had already consumed a pill, and his strength had increased. He could take advantage of this opportunity to kill Lin Xian. With a roar, the Reverend Moon Elder executed his ultimate technique and fought with Lin Xian. His palms trembled slightly, and red divine flames surged forward. It was as if he was going to burn everything to ashes. In the sky, the endless clouds were instantly shattered and disappeared without a trace. This kind of technique was extremely shocking. With a raise of his hand, Lin Xian could destroy heaven and earth, and change the clouds in the void. Good timing! Lin Xian roared, and his eyes shone brightly. The 9 nether devil sword tore through heaven and earth, and it swept forward with destructive energy waves. At the same time, he flicked his finger. The void-shattering finger flickered, and it went straight for the Reverend Moon Elder's head. The dragon sword domain around him shone even brighter, and it made him look like a demon god. It was incomparably terrifying. Boom! Sword chi slashed down, and the terrifying flames in the sky were sliced apart. At the same time, the void-shattering finger moved unpredictably towards the Reverend Moon Elder. However, the Reverend Moon Elder wasn't an ordinary person, and his strength had increased. The moment the void-shattering finger appeared, he quickly dodged. Break! The finger slammed into his arm, and a hole appeared. Ah! The Reverend Moon Elder went berserk, and black winds surged as he attacked again. Blinding light shone from his body, and he looked like a god of fire. His aura was oppressive. He struck out with his palm, and the momentum was terrifying. It was as if the palm of a god of fire had descended from the heavens, and it enveloped the surroundings. The palm contained a shocking amount of devil energy, and it burned fiercely. The sword chi in the surroundings dimmed from the heat. On the other hand, Lin Xian held the devil sword in his hand, and he slashed in all directions. At the same time, the dragon sword domain bloomed with resplendent light, and endless sword chi rushed out. It was extremely resplendent. The battle between the two shook the heavens and earth. Divine light soared into the sky, and killing intent filled the air. It was as if the entire mansion had turned into hell. Chapter 16:13. The battle between the two shook the heavens and the earth. Divine light soared into the sky, and killing intent filled the air. It was as though the entire place had turned into hell. After exchanging blows, the Reverend Moon Elder's heart pounded wildly. The more he thought about it, the more shocked he became. The battle intent and strength Huang Xiaolong displayed were too strong. Even the Reverence Moon Elder couldn't suppress it. At this moment, the Reverence Moon Elder went berserk once again. He burned his spiritual energy to obtain a terrifying amount of energy, and sent out 3 powerful palm strikes. Flames filled the sky, and the spiritual energy in the surroundings surged. A vermilion bird flew out from the Reverence Moon Elder's palm, and it grew bigger. Its entire body was scarlet, and it emitted a red glow. It was exceptionally beautiful. However, behind this beauty, there was an eternal killing intent. The vermilion bird's body carried a terrifying amount of energy. The moment it appeared, the void couldn't withstand it. The vermilion bird spread its wings, and it charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared as he executed the heavenly dragon's 8 steps, and his speed reached the limit. He constantly changed his position in the air, and he dodged the attack. After dodging the main attack, Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly as he swung the 9 nether devil sword. He slashed down quickly. Buzz! He slashed out 3 times in a row. Lin Xian's face turned pale. The first slash was aimed at the Reverence Moon Elder's scarlet vermilion bird. This slash was like a sword being sharpened, and it carried a monstrous amount of killing intent. When it landed on the vermilion bird's body, a resplendent light exploded. The void exploded, and divine light shone down, illuminating the entire sky. At the same time, Lin Xian's second slash appeared. This slash cut through the void, and it traveled thousands of miles in an instant. In an instant, it appeared in front of the Reverence Moon Elder, and it slashed down with great speed, as though it wanted to split the Reverence Moon Elder in half. Scram! The Reverence Moon Elder's pupils shrank. He didn't expect Huang Xiaolong's sword chi to be so strange. He waved his hand quickly, and the scarlet domain in the sky trembled. A terrifying wall of fire formed in front of him, and he retreated at the same time. But at that moment, Lin Xian finally unleashed his third slash. This was his true killing move. Terrifying sword light of a sword chi, and it emitted a monstrous amount of killing intent. As black as the sword chi. What? There is more! The Reverence Moon Elder's scalp went numb when he saw this scene. However, he gritted his teeth, and his face was incomparably ferocious. This time, he actually ignored the sword chi and allowed it to descend. Then, he quickly waved his palms twice. This time, 2 more vermilion birds flew toward Lin Xian. A huge beam of light shot up, like a dancing demonic beast, like a child purple phoenix soaring through the sky. 2 shadows instantly crashed into Lin Xian's body. Boom! Heaven and earth shook violently, and the void split open. A huge explosion quickly took place. At that moment, even the cultivators in the outside world were suspicious because they also felt an indescribable energy. However, these people did not discover any battle after investigating, so they stopped paying attention to it. Inside the Reverence Moon Mansion, it was a tragic scene. Lin Xian spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He had suffered heavy injuries. However, he circulated the immortality incantation, and the blood in his body surged like a dragon, quickly recovering. On the other side, the Reverence Moon Elder was also severely injured. That sword strike had almost split him into 2. Right now, his hair was disheveled, and he quickly swallowed pills to heal his body. However, he was ecstatic because he knew that Lin Xian's injuries were even more severe. His 2 palms were absolutely terrifying. Even a 5-star king would not be able to withstand it. Therefore, his opponent was dead meat. Ha! Kid, let's see how you're going to die this time. However, the Reverence Moon Elder was soon stunned. This was because he realized that his opponent had actually stood up. What? How is this possible? The Reverence Moon Elder narrowed his eyes in disbelief. His opponent had clearly been hit. How could he stand up? Damn it! This is impossible! The Reverence Moon Elder screamed crazily. He could not believe that someone's vitality was so tenacious. Even a 5-star king would have been killed by those 3 palms. However, his opponent had actually recovered from most of his injuries in an instant. What kind of technique was that? He had never heard of it before. Damn it! This kid either has a peerless pill or a shocking recovery technique. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to be so powerful. The Reverend Moon Elder's eyes were dark, and his gaze was incomparably bright. No matter what it was, the Reverend Moon Elder was extremely tempted. So far, Lin Xian had shown too many tricks up his sleeves. Extreme movement techniques, super powerful combat strength, and terrifying recovery ability. Every single one of them could set off a storm in the eastern wasteland. However, all these precious things were gathered in one person's hands. Moreover, it was a young man who was only a 2-star king. This was undoubtedly an opportunity for the Reverend Moon Elder. If he could kill Lin Xian, everything would be his. Kid, go to hell! The Reverend Moon Elder unleashed another technique and charged towards Huang Xiaolong. However, he quickly retreated again. Pun! The Reverend Moon Elder spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. His opponent's combat strength had increased again? Especially that sword chi. It was too terrifying. It made him feel like he was on the verge of death. Moreover, he was already covered in injuries from the battle. More importantly, the effects of his elixir were about to wear off. Soon, his strength would return to normal. At that time, he would definitely not be a match for Lin Xian. Thinking of this, he went crazy again. He had no choice but to use that forbidden technique. Reverend Moon! At this moment, the Reverend Moon Elder's eyes were unusually ferocious. He sat cross-legged in the void and formed seals with his hands. Behind him, a full moon quickly formed. An indescribable energy spread out and enveloped the entire mansion. Immediately, the disciples of the Reverend Moon sect trembled and knelt on the ground. Unknowingly, a full moon had appeared in the sky. As for the disciples on the ground, they all knelt towards the sky. Furthermore, a peculiar energy floated out from their bodies and gathered in the full moon in the sky. It was like a river flowing into the sea. In the sky, the blood-red moon became more and more terrifying. The Reverend Moon Elder's aura also grew stronger. However, the disciples kneeling on the ground were pale and their auras weakened. Some of them even fainted. Some of them had their muscles shriveled up and turned into skeletons. What's going on? Lin Xian's eyes flickered and his expression was extremely solemn. This strange scene caused him to be extremely shocked. The Crimson Dragon also appeared beside Huang Xiaolong and said in a low voice, "What a vicious cultivation technique! It should be a secret technique of the Reverend Moon sect. It absorbs other people's energy and uses a special secret technique for its own use. However, this kind of energy is too tyrannical. I'm afraid these disciples won't be able to survive." Indeed, before the Crimson Dragon could make a move, these disciples would have already lost most of their energy. They wouldn't be able to live for long. At this time, the Reverend Moon Elder suddenly opened his eyes. Chapter 16:14. Two resplendent bolts of lightning shot out from the Reverend Moon Elder's eyes, piercing through the void palace. At this moment, the Reverend Moon Elder's strength had reached its peak. He stood up slowly, and his sleeves trembled, emitting a terrifying energy. Countless rays of light fell around him. How terrifying! This energy is close to that of a 6-star king! The Crimson Dragon was shocked. Kid, retreat quickly! He pulled Lin Xian and retreated quickly. At the same time, a black hole appeared where they were originally standing. Terrifying flames turned into snakes that intertwined with each other. It was a terrifying sight. How powerful! Lin Xian's eyes widened. He didn't see anything at all. How did the Reverend Moon Elder make a move? That attack had almost killed them. What kind of secret technique is that? It's so terrifying! Lin Xian was shocked. It seemed like the Reverend Moon cult lived up to its name. The Reverend Moon cult's secret techniques were indeed endless. Kid, in order to kill you, I used a supreme secret technique that killed all the disciples of the Reverend Moon cult. Now you can go to hell. The Reverend Moon Elder's voice was cold, and it carried boundless killing intent. In the next moment, he retracted his palm, and the void trembled. A flaming palm appeared in the air, emitting a destructive aura. With a single slap, more than half of the manor collapsed. Lin Xian used the demigods to dodge the energy storm and kept retreating. However, he wasn't someone who was afraid. Hence, he let out a long roar and pushed the dragon's sword domain to the limit. At this moment, boundless sword light shot into the sky, and he emitted a monstrous aura. He was like a god of war, unstoppable. So what if you used a secret technique? Today, I will cut you down with my sword! Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. Humph, you overestimate yourself. The Reverend Moon Elder, who had gained strength, smirked disdainfully. My current strength is comparable to a 6-star king. Killing you is as easy as slaughtering a dog. As he spoke, he pointed with his finger. Suddenly, the void trembled, and countless flames turned into a dragon that spiraled out. Boundless light surged, and terrifying energy surged. It instantly pierced through the void and ignited the surrounding space. Most likely, no one below 6-star king realm would be able to stop him. However, something shocking happened. This time, Lin Xian didn't dodge at all. With a snap of his fingers, he instantly summoned the 10,000 bee sting and placed his palm on it. Suddenly, the sky was filled with black light as countless beasts roared. The 10,000 bee sting glowed brightly and quickly grew larger in the air. It was like a black demonic wall that stood in the void. Tens of thousands of demonic beasts fought over it. Many demonic beast images moved about continuously. Boom! The flaming azure dragon's finger hit the 10,000 bee sting. Suddenly, an earth-shattering explosion occurred. The entire void boiled, and a boundless sea of fire surged. However, although this energy was terrifying and could pierce through the void, it could not pierce through the 10,000 bee sting, let alone injure Lin Xian. Earth-step treasure. The Reverend Moon Elder narrowed his eyes when he saw this. Soon after, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Brat, I have to say, you're really full of surprises. Now, he had even used an earth-step treasure. Very good, it's mine now. As he spoke, he stretched out his palm and grabbed downwards without any hesitation. That palm was extremely terrifying. A red domain revolved rapidly in the center of his palm, directly locking down the void. That was the Reverend Moon Elder's king realm. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He circulated his energy and poured it into the 10,000 bee sting. Suddenly, the 10,000 bee sting glowed brightly. The sounds of the beasts on it became even more real. Then, a huge claw reached out from the 10,000 life cauldron and slapped the void. This claw was extremely black, like the claw of a demon god. It was extremely terrifying and carried a shocking amount of energy. In the next moment, it slapped the Reverend Moon Elder's palm. Boom! Energy exploded as the two clashed. Sparks flew everywhere. However, although the 10,000 bee sting was strong, the Reverend Moon Elder was even more terrifying at this moment. He was like a god of war, and his palm contained a king's domain. Thus, under such immense power, the black palm was shattered with a single palm strike. Brat, it's useless. Stop struggling. You're no match for me. The Reverend Moon Elder sneered disdainfully. He waved his hand and grabbed at Lin Xian again. So strong! Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't expect that even the 10,000 bee sting couldn't stop the Reverend Moon Elder. However, at this moment, the crimson dragon at the side let out a long roar. With the dragon's roar, the entire void exploded. Terrifying energy swept out, shaking the entire mansion. At this moment, the sky seemed to collapse. Then, the crimson dragon waved its dragon claws, forming a huge dragon claw and grabbing forward. Pun! The dark red dragon claw was like a mountain. It was extremely terrifying. In the next moment, it collided with the Reverend Moon Elder's palm. What? He blocked it! The Reverend Moon Elder was shocked. He felt that his palm was blocked, and he even felt a piercing pain. This made him very surprised. Impossible! How can he block my palm? He frowned. In the next moment, His eyes were like lightning as he stared at the Crimson Dragon. "You're from the dragon race!" The Reverend Moon Elder was shocked. He didn't expect his opponent to be from the dragon race. No wonder he had such a strong physique and could block his palm. The Crimson Dragon gritted its teeth. "Humph, Ben Huang didn't show his power, and you're really arrogant. Take my Overlord Dragon God Fist!" The Crimson Dragon waved its other dragon claw, and a red fist appeared in the sky. The fist was filled with mysterious runes, and it was pushed forward at high speed. Pun! In the sky, the Reverend Moon Elder's palm was pushed back. "Damn it!" The Reverend Moon Elder's face was hideous. He felt that his entire palm was numb. The strength of his opponent was too terrifying. As expected of the dragon race. This kind of strength is really strong. A hint of madness appeared in the Reverend Moon Elder's eyes. "I wonder if drinking your dragon blood will increase my cultivation again?" At this moment, he was like a demon, staring at the Crimson Dragon. "You dare to have designs on Ben Huang? Go to hell!" The Crimson Dragon roared. Then, it swung its dragon tail and rushed forward to fight the Reverend Moon Elder. Shocking energy exploded as the two fought crazily. On the other side, Lin Xian didn't stay idle. He quickly formed seals with his palms and activated the Dragon Sword's spiritual domain to the extreme. A deep dragon roar sounded, and then endless sword light soared into the sky. Lin Xian held the 9 Netherworld demonic sword in his hand, and energy exploded from his body. Moreover, the Dragon Sword's spiritual domain kept compressing until it was completely attached to the 9 Netherworld demonic sword. Terrifying sword light shone in all directions. At this moment, the 9 Netherworld demonic sword was covered by the Dragon Sword's spiritual domain, and it was extremely terrifying. He was like a real demon god's sword, floating in the sky. With a light slash, he could pierce through the void. Chapter 16-15. He was like a real demon god's sword as he hovered in the sky. With a light slash, he could pierce a hole in the void. "Kill!" With a long roar, the 9 Nether Devil sword shone brightly like a black sun. Lin Xian swung his arm, and the 9 Nether Devil sword slashed down. "What?" At the same time, the Reverend Moon Elder, who was fighting the Crimson Dragon, was shocked. When he saw the giant black sword slashing down from the sky, he screamed. This sword was too terrifying. It made his scalp go numb, and his heart beat wildly. He knew that if he was hit by this sword, he wouldn't be able to escape. Damn it! How can this kid be so strong? He couldn't believe it. How did Huang Xiaolong display such strength? He had already surpassed him. Damn it! It's his king's domain! The Reverend Moon Elder was shocked. He realized that there was a small king's domain above the 9 Nether Devil sword. When he saw this, he didn't dare to stay any longer. He moved his body and fled. He even wanted to break the seal and leave this place. However, the Crimson Dragon didn't give him a chance to escape. In the end, the Crimson Dragon turned into a 100-jang-long divine dragon and hovered in the void. Its huge body shone with divine light, and its terrifying blood chi dyed the sky red. A vast and mighty pressure instantly froze the entire void. The Reverend Moon Elder went crazy as he tried to break the seal. However, he realized that his body was trapped in the void. He couldn't move at all. Boom! The 9 Nether Devil sword shrouded the Reverend Moon Elder with the Dragon's sword domain. Boom! 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 The void exploded, and endless sword lights shot out in all directions. The entire mansion was drowned. At this moment, even the void was riddled with holes. When everything returned to normal, the Reverend Moon Elder's heart was already pierced by thousands of arrows. He couldn't be more dead. When Lin Xian saw this, he heaved a sigh of relief. The Crimson Dragon's body shook, and it returned to its 1-meter-long form. The two of them landed on the ground and felt relieved. However, they didn't dare to stay any longer. They quickly cleaned up the battlefield. The Reverend Moon Elder's storage ring was snatched away by them. Then, the two of them turned into a beam of light and left the mansion. When they returned to their residence, the two of them heaved a sigh of relief. Today's battle was truly too thrilling. The Reverend Moon Elder lived up to his reputation as an elder. He was much stronger than Tian Hu and the others. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were both extraordinary figures. Otherwise, they would not have been able to win today's battle. This was especially true for the Reverend Moon Elder's last move. He had directly seized the energy of others and turned it into his own. This greatly shocked Lin Xian. At the same time, it also let him know that any large sect had a strong foundation and endless secret skills. Therefore, in the future, when encountering such a person, he must not let his guard down. The two of them sat down cross-legged and quickly healed their wounds. For the next few days, the two of them did not go out. The entire ancient city of Hanyang was in shock. It was because someone had discovered that the Reverend Moon Mansion had been destroyed, and everyone inside had been killed. Even the Reverend Moon Elder was no exception. This discovery shook the entire ancient city of Hanyang. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. One had to know that the Reverend Moon cult was a large sect in the eastern wilderness. They were extremely powerful. Who would dare to attack them? But now, it had actually happened, and it had succeeded. These people immediately thought of Lin Xian. In the ancient city of Hanyang, only Lin Xian had a conflict with the Reverend Moon cult. Impossible! This is impossible! However, the experts quickly rejected this idea. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, it was impossible for him to kill the Reverend Moon Elder and the dozens of Reverend Moon disciples. This was not something a young man could do. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that the entire mansion had been sealed, and no one had been able to escape. During the battle, no one had even discovered it. This kind of method was heaven-defying. Therefore, they ruled out Lin Xian as a suspect. They even believed that it was the work of an almighty expert. Otherwise, even if other experts had made a move, they would not have been able to kill all of them. If the Reverend Moon Elder wanted to escape, only almighty experts would be able to stop him. Who did it? For a moment, everyone was speculating. At the same time, they were extremely shocked. They did not dare to cause any more trouble for fear of being targeted by a mysterious expert. However, after some research, they guessed that it was most likely the work of an enemy of the Reverend Moon cult. If they wanted to blame someone, they could only blame the Reverend Moon cult for being too arrogant. They had probably offended someone, and that was why they had ended up like this. With the passage of time, this storm gradually passed. On the other side, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon did not go out after killing the Reverend Moon Elder. They went into seclusion to cultivate. The last great battle had caused them to suffer heavy injuries. They needed to recover. Here, they wanted to hide from the limelight so that they would not be targeted. In the room, Lin Xian sat cross-legged. His body was surrounded by resplendent light. At this moment, his injuries were completely healed. Not only that, but he was also cultivating a high-grade earth-rank martial art. He had already cultivated the mid-grade earth-rank martial art, the myriad sword art, to greater completion. Now, he could condense the power of 9,000 swords. It was extremely terrifying. With a single strike, even a 5-star king would be forced back. The high-grade earth-rank martial art he was cultivating now was a kind of domain comprehension called the Sixth Divine Sword Art. As Lin Xian's cultivation increased, he became more familiar with the application of the king's domain. The king's domain was ever-changing. It was extremely powerful and mysterious. Previously, Lin Xian had only summoned it and used its power. Now, he was going to take a deeper step. For example, the Reverend Moon Elder's King's Domain and Lin Xian's Dragon Sword Domain had been compressed and attached to the 9 Nether Devil Sword. They were both new applications. The Sixth Divine Sword Art was also a kind of King's Domain cultivation technique. There were a total of 6 levels. Each level would condense a sword god in the domain to kill the enemy. Lin Xian was currently cultivating the first level, and what he condensed was Red Sword Chi. Around him, the dragon's sword domain floated up and down. Inside it, streaks of red sword chi were rapidly moving and combining, forming a set of strange sword formations. And in the midst of these red sword chi, a red figure could be vaguely seen. However, it was very blurry, and one could not see its true form clearly. However, the power that it emitted was incomparably sharp. After a month of cultivation, Lin Xian had finally reached the small success stage of the first level. He could instantly activate 100,000 red sword chi to form various killing methods. This time, he did not cultivate but came out of seclusion. Other than the small success stage of the sword art, there was another more important matter, and that was that the stone gambling convention was about to begin. Chapter 16:16. The Stone Gambling Conference was extremely important to him. Firstly, he needed to observe the young man named Hong Yu at the conference, in order to complete the sect's mission. Moreover, he also wanted to cut out some treasures and obtain the best quality subdivine crystals to improve his cultivation. In fact, not only him, all the warriors in the ancient city were excited. In the center of the ancient city, there was a huge palace. It was magnificent and exuded an aura of desolation. It was an ancient palace. Normally, it was not open to the public. However, the ancient city of Hanshan opened the sacred palace for this stone gambling conference. This time, the stone gambling conference was held here. All kinds of strange stones were placed in the palace. Some were simple, some were majestic, and some were even shining. However, whether or not there were treasures inside would depend on each martial artist's own ability. When Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, Fatty Luo, and Du Fei came in, they were stunned. They found that the inside of the sacred palace was magnificent and spacious. It was far from what it looked like from the outside. No wonder it's an ancient sacred palace. It's amazing! Fatty Luo exclaimed. I bet we'll come back with a lot of treasures this time. Du Fei was also excited. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked forward. He found that the palace was different from what he had imagined. It was very spacious and there were many small halls. The stones placed in each hall were actually different. Of course, the cost to enter was different. It was said that one had to pay a high price to enter the innermost halls. Ordinary people could not afford it. Almost everyone in the ancient city of Hanshan had come. It could be said that this was a golden age. However, Lin Xian and the others soon ran into trouble. Because a few people in the crowd were walking towards them. There were only 6 or 7 of them. One of them was a middle-aged man with a cold face and a terrifying aura. The aura did not spread out. It was directed at Lin Xian and the others. Lin Xian's face darkened. Although the aura was terrifying, it had no effect on him. However, he did not know the man. The man attacked him as soon as he came up. Obviously, he wanted to throw him out. This made him very unhappy. To the side, Fatty Luo also said in a low voice, Damn it, it's the Yunyan sect. Yunyan sect? Lin Xian frowned. He did not recognize this sect. They have a good relationship with the moon-worshipping cult. Previously, you killed 2 of the moon-worshipping cult's candidate holy sons. Now, the moon-worshipping elder has died in a bizarre manner. They will definitely target you. Du Fei explained. Fatty Luo was furious. F***CK. He dared to bully others with his aura? I think they don't want to live anymore. The surrounding cultivators naturally saw this scene as well, but they did not say anything, nor did anyone step forward to stop it. Instead, they were all whispering to each other. The law enforcement team did not come because this was not an obvious attack. This kind of method of using pressure to scare people had indeed escaped the rules of the law enforcement team. Hee kid, with us here today, don't even think about entering the stone gambling convention. Humph! How dare you kill 2 candidate holy princes of the moon-worshipping cult? You're dead meat. I advise you to be obedient and wait for your punishment. Several disciples of the Yunyan sect sneered. The middle-aged man even snorted coldly, his eyes shining brightly. Don't worry, with me here, this kid won't be able to enter. F***ck. You've gone too far. The Crimson Dragon gnashed his teeth, itching to attack. However, Lin Xian held him down and shook his head slightly. The other party was obviously trying to provoke them to attack and attract the law enforcement team. However, Lin Xian obviously did not want to do that. If the law enforcement team was alerted, it would be difficult for him to enter the convention today. He would not attack, but that did not mean he would let the other party go. In the next moment, he turned to Fatty Luo and said, "It's up to you now. F***ck, this young master can't wait any longer." Fatty Luo took a step forward and pointed to the front. "Yunyan sect, right? Get out of my sight! How dare you block this young master's way? Believe it or not, I'll cripple you!" On the side, Dufei sneered. "That's right, I bet you'll regret it soon. Where did this kid come from? How dare he tell us to get out of here? Slap him! Otherwise, you're dead meat!" The martial artists of Yunyan sect shouted coldly and glared at him. They were here to bully him, but now they were being scolded by him? How could they tolerate that? More and more people gathered around and started discussing. In the crowd, the lunar saintess shook her head slightly. She knew who Fatty Luo and Du Fei were. This time, Yunyan sect was really going to be in trouble. In front of them, the middle-aged man also frowned and said coldly, "Kid, get out of my sight! Don't get in my way. Otherwise, if you anger me, you won't be able to walk out of Hanyang Ancient City." "Oh my, are you threatening me? I'm so scared." Fatty Luo sneered. "Do you think I grew up scared?" As he spoke, he took out a token. "Look at what this is. If you dare to attack me, you'll have to bear the consequences." The silver token was very simple and unadorned. There was an ancient character on it, and a large flag on the back that fluttered in the wind. This was the second time Fatty Luo had taken out his token. The first time, he had scared Elder Baiwei away. This time, he took it out again in the face of Yunyan sect's provocation. The crowd was also extremely puzzled. The majority of them did not know what the silver token represented. However, the lunar saintess looked serious. On the other side, the five elements saint also frowned. Opposite them, the martial artists of Yunyan sect sneered when they saw this. "What, do you think you can save your lives by taking out a token? Let me tell you, if you dare to provoke Yunyan sect, you're dead meat." Those people sneered arrogantly. However, the middle-aged man suddenly turned his head and shouted in a low voice, "Shut up! Elder!" The disciples of Yunyan sect behind him trembled. They did not understand why their elder was angry. However, the middle-aged man did not pay attention to them. Instead, he stared at the silver token. Then, he took a deep breath and asked through gritted teeth, "What's the relationship between Luo Bideo and you?" "Luo Bideo? Who's Luo Bideo?" Hearing this, many of the surrounding warriors were stunned, but soon after, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Could it be Luo Bideo, one of the 10 great villains? When they thought of this, they were extremely shocked and their scalps went numb. Now they finally knew why Elder Baiwei had turned and ran away that day. It was because of Luo Bideo's token. When the disciples of Yunyan sect heard this, they also trembled. A trace of fear appeared in their eyes. Fatty Luo said proudly, "That's my grandfather! What, are you going to attack me now? What?" When they heard this, everyone trembled and almost fell. The martial artists of Yunyan sect felt their scalps go numb, and their hearts beat wildly. Chapter 16-17. They did not expect the kid in front of them to be Luo Bideo's grandson. At that moment, everyone looked at Fatty Luo with terrified expressions. Of course, they did not forget Du Fei because he was with Fatty Luo. At that moment, Fatty Luo grinned and pointed at Du Fei, saying, "This is my brother. His grandfather is Du Tianxing." Indeed! Everyone was shocked. Du Tianxing was also one of the 10 villains. The martial artists from Yunyan sect were terrified, and the middle-aged man's face was gloomy. He did not expect that he would be in deep trouble this time. Not to mention him, even their sect master might not dare to touch these two people. His expression was uncertain. In the end, he gritted his teeth and cupped his fists. "Gentlemen, I'm sorry for offending you earlier. Please forgive me." After saying that, he dived into the crowd and left without looking back. The few disciples of the Yunyan sect were like stray dogs as they quickly followed behind. Everyone was shocked. The 10 villains were indeed ferocious and terrifying. Even the elders of Yunyan sect did not dare to provoke them. However, there was one person who was very confused. That was Lin Xian. He asked, 10 villains? What 10 villains? I'm going to faint. Everyone's mouth twitched as they looked at Lin Xian as if they were looking at a monster. There was someone who did not know about the 10 villains. That was too strange. Could it be that this guy came from a mountain village? However, more people were speechless. You don't even know about the 10 villains, and you dare to gather with these two little villains? How bold! However, Lin Xian soon learned about the legend of the 10 villains. They were definitely ferocious people. Each of them was extremely powerful and had monstrous combat strength. Moreover, these 10 people had no scruples. They did things as they pleased and did not follow any rules at all. They did not even care about any sect. As long as they wanted to, they would do it. Because of that, they even had conflicts with sacred grounds and clan of the ancients. However, until now, they were all living well. One could imagine how terrifying these people were. Especially Luo Badeo, who had torn apart a mighty figure. He was extremely powerful. Fatty Luo was Luo Badeo's grandson. As long as he revealed his identity, not many people would dare to provoke him. I see. Lin Xian suddenly understood. The 10 villains were extremely powerful in the eastern wasteland. Naturally, no one dared to offend their descendants. I didn't expect the two of you to have such identities, Lin Xian said with a smile. Fatty Luo scratched his head. It can't be helped. Our identities are too sensitive. Most people don't want to play with us. It wasn't easy to find Brother Lin. We don't want to scare you away. Brother Lin, you won't run away in fear, right? On the other side, Du Fei also asked. You were really shocked, but why did you run away? Lin Xian patted them on the shoulder. We're friends. Yes, we are friends. We're brothers. Fatty Luo laughed loudly. Then, the group of people walked forward. Instantly, the crowd automatically dispersed. What a joke, who would dare to block the way now? However, what surprised everyone was that there really was someone who dared to block their way. Of course, they weren't ordinary martial artists. Ordinary martial artists didn't dare to offend the 10 villains at all. However, the people in front of them didn't seem to have much scruples. You're Lin Xian? A young man in a thunder robe asked with a smile. That's right. Lin Xian nodded. You are? I'm the saint of the Thousand Thunder sect. These are my friends, the young man in the thunder robe said slowly. The Thousand Thunder Saint! Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect the Thousand Thunder sect to participate. On the side, Fatty Luo also transmitted his voice. Be careful. The Thousand Thunder sect has clashed with the 10 villains before, so they definitely don't have good intentions. Lin Xian was also surprised. The Thousand Thunder sect had clashed with the 10 villains before. No wonder they dared to block the way here. Therefore, he asked coldly, May I know why you're blocking the way? Not really, the Thousand Thunder Saint said with a smile. I heard you're also a seeker spirit master? Why? Do you want my brother to go stone gambling for you? Fatty Luo frowned. Humph. Stone gambling? Use him? Who does he think he is? Is he worthy of stone gambling for the Thousand Thunder Saint? At this moment, a young man in a red robe beside the Thousand Thunder Saint snorted disdainfully. What did you say? Du Fei was also unhappy. How dare the other party provoke him like this? I mean, what ability does he have? He's just lucky to cut out 2 stones. Do you really think he's a seeker spirit master? Ridiculous. He's not a seeker spirit master? Are you? The Crimson Dragon also snorted. The other party obviously had an expression that deserved a beating. Of course I am, the red-robed young man said proudly. Then, he looked down at Lin Xian. Boy, do you dare to bet with me? I'll expose you in front of everyone. Bet? Lin Xian frowned. Yes, bet. We'll choose stones on the spot and see who can cut the treasure better, the red-robed young man said coldly. What? You don't dare? Why not? Lin Xian snorted. Since the other party dared to provoke him, how could he not take action? Moreover, he was very confident in his martial Dao Heavenly Eye. What? Stone gambling. Hearing this, the surrounding people were also alarmed and gathered around. This was a stone gambling convention. Stone gambling between Seeker Spirit Masters was a common occurrence. However, the people who were participating in the stone gambling this time made them even more excited. One was Lin Xian, who was now very popular in the ancient city of Hanyang. The other person was invited by the Thousand Thunder Saint, who was presumably not weak. Isn't he from the Tuoba family? In the crowd, a genius exclaimed. What? He's from the Tuoba family? For a moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the red-robed young man. Obviously, they were very surprised that the other party was from the Tuoba family. Humph! The red-robed young man snorted and raised his chin proudly. At this time, the Thousand Thunder Saint explained with a smile. That's right. He's the young genius of the Tuoba family, Tuoba Yi. He really is from the Tuoba family. Hearing the Thousand Thunder Saint's explanation, the surrounding people became even more excited. Fatty Luo and Du Fei's faces also darkened. They quickly said, Brother Lin, be careful. The Tuoba family is an ancient family of Seeker Spirit Masters. Although they are arrogant, they do have means. You must be careful during the stone gambling. Seeker Spirit Master family. Lin Xian was also surprised. Then, he smiled slightly and said, Let me see what kind of means the Seeker Spirit Master family has. How could it make everyone so shocked? What an idiot! How dare you bet with me? Boy, you'll regret it soon! Tuoba Yi sneered. Cut the crap. Since it's stone gambling, what are you betting on? Du Fei asked coldly. Chapter 16-18. Cut the crap. Since it is stone gambling, what are you betting on? Du Fei asked coldly. He was a gambling addict and naturally had to pay attention to this area. Tuoba Yi looked around and sneered. This is only the outermost stone gambling area. There shouldn't be any strange stones that are too big. How about this? Let's bet 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. How about that? If we bet too much, I'm afraid you won't be able to afford it. Tuoba Yi's face was filled with pride as he spoke. All right. Lin Xian nodded without any hesitation. 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. A casual bet? The surrounding martial artists were speechless. They might not even have 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. But now, the two of them were casually betting and had taken out so much. Perhaps only a Seeker Spirit Master would dare to do such a thing. Very well, kid. I will let you know what a true Seeker Spirit Master is. Tuoba Yi snorted and waved his hand, taking out 50 caddies of subdivine crystals. Lin Xian didn't hesitate and threw out 50 caddies of subdivine crystals as well. Instantly, the surrounding crowd got excited. It seemed like the two of them were really going against each other, and there had to be a victor. This duel was undoubtedly an exciting match for everyone. At the front, after Tuoba Yi threw out the subdivine crystals, he started to walk forward slowly. He wanted to pick a strange stone to defeat Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian didn't move. His eyes flickered as he executed his martial Dao Heavenly Eye and quickly scanned the front. The martial Dao Heavenly Eye was extremely deep as it flickered with peculiar runes. It could see through everything. Soon, Lin Xian curled his lips into a smile as he locked onto his target. He waved his hand, and a stone floated towards him. That stone was as tall as a human. It was grayish-brown and simple. If it wasn't placed here, no one would take a second look at it. Tuobiyi sneered when he saw Lin Xian choose his stones so quickly. At the same time, his eyes flickered with purple radiance as he quickly scanned the front. Soon, he chose a stone that was flickering with radiance. It was 2 meters tall and was extremely tall. Kid, you will definitely lose this time. Tuobiyi sneered. Lose my ass! We haven't even cut it open yet. How do you know we'll lose? Fatty Luo snorted coldly. He was extremely displeased. That's right. I bet that you'll be the one to lose this time. Du Fang shouted coldly. You still dare to be stubborn when you're about to die. Very well, I'll make you accept your defeat wholeheartedly. Tuobiyi didn't say anything else. He waved his hand and took out a black dagger before cutting the rock rapidly. The black dagger flickered with black light, and there were many complicated inscriptions carved on it. Not only that, but it was also sharp. His technique was very special, dazzling the eyes, making it impossible for others to see clearly. However, the 2-meter-tall strange stone began to shatter into pieces and gradually become smaller. This stone-cutting technique was a unique skill of the Tuoba family. Outsiders were unable to learn it, and could only express their envy. Soon, the surrounding crowd exclaimed. That was because when he was halfway through cutting the stone, a dazzling light suddenly burst out from the stone. It was like a rosy sunset that illuminated the surroundings. Treasure! There really is a treasure! Everyone was shocked. No wonder he's a genius of the Tuoba family. He's really impressive. Exclamations sounded one after another. Then, everyone discovered that a millstone-sized subdivine crystal had appeared in the 2-meter-tall stone. Moreover, it was a high-quality subdivine crystal. It looks like it's more than 200 kilograms. That's right, and it's many subdivine crystals. This was only the outermost area, so there shouldn't be anything good. It was already considered good if an ordinary Seeker Spirit Master could cut out a 5-kilogram piece. Now that there was 100 kilograms, he was definitely a peerless genius. It seemed that the kid was going to lose for sure. It couldn't be helped. He was a genius of the Tuoba family, and no one else could compare to him. Perhaps only the people from the Ryu family could compete with him. Exclamations sounded one after another. Clearly, they were all praising the Tuoba family, and no one was optimistic about Lin Xian. A bunch of bastards, what nonsense are you talking about? My brother hasn't cut it yet. How do you know he'll lose? Fatty Luo was unhappy. Du Fei also said, That's right. I dare to bet that my brother Lin will be able to cut out a supreme-grade subdivine crystal. Supreme-grade subdivine crystal? Are you a cabbage? Tuobiyi sneered. Kid, it's still not too late to admit defeat. You'll only lose a mere 50 kilograms of subdivine crystal. However, if there's nothing in the rock you're going to cut, you'll lose more than just this little bit of subdivine crystal. I'm afraid you won't have the face to stay here in the future. Lin Xian heard and sneered with disdain. You're the one who won't have the face to stay here. You'll know soon enough. After speaking, he didn't say anything else. He used his finger like a knife and cut the rock beside him. His method was very bold as he cut the rock in half. What? Directly cut from the middle? This kid doesn't want his life anymore. Damn, he's too bold. If there's any treasure, wouldn't it be destroyed by him? Everyone exclaimed and couldn't believe it. Tuobiyi's eyelids twitched before he sneered. He's indeed an idiotic kid. How can he cut so quickly? He's obviously not a Seeker Spirit Master. Lin Xian didn't pay any attention to him. He went straight down from the middle. However, nothing appeared after he cut it open. There wasn't any radiance. This made everyone sigh while Tuobiyi sneered. Kid, don't waste your effort. There isn't anything. Lin Xian waved his sleeve and threw the upper half of the rock to the side. He then stared at the lower half of the rock and waved his finger again. Sigh, it's useless. Normally, treasures would be in the center of the rock. If there's no treasure in the center, it means there's nothing left. I heard that this Lin Xian had cut out a supreme-grade subdivine crystal and thought he was an incredible Seeker Spirit Master. Now, it seems like he was just lucky. Yeah, no one dares to be arrogant in front of Tuobiyi. This Lin Xian is no exception. He will definitely be defeated. Everyone was discussing while shaking their heads and sighing. But at the next moment, they all shut up. Not only that, but they also widened their eyes as though they saw a ghost. Because Lin Xian's fingertips suddenly burst out with boundless radiance. It wasn't from Lin Xian, but from the rock under his feet. Treasure, there's actually a treasure! Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. What? How is it possible? Tuobiye's expression changed as his eyes turned gloomy. He didn't expect Lin Xian to really cut out a treasure. Moreover, what made him even more uncomfortable was that Lin Xian's radiance seemed to be more intense than his previous radiance. The surrounding people also noticed this and immediately exclaimed, "This radiance is so powerful! It's much stronger than the previous one. Could it really be a rare treasure? It can't be. This Lin Xian's luck is actually so good? Luck? You're still talking about luck? Try cutting one for me." Fatty Luo snorted. Chapter 16-19. Hearing this, everyone went silent. It was impossible for his luck to be so good all the time. For Lin Xian to continuously cut out treasures, it was definitely due to his own strength. Lin Xian must be an extremely powerful seeker spirit master. On the other side, the myriad Thunder Saint had a gloomy expression. He didn't expect Lin Xian to actually cut out treasures. Tuobiyi gritted his teeth and said, "Don't worry. The radiance might be strong, but it doesn't mean that there are treasures. Something like this happened in the past. The radiance was strong, but it was just trash. Therefore, until the last point, no one knows who will win or lose." To be honest, he still had hope in his heart. But at the next moment, his expression changed drastically, and his heart sank into a bottomless pit. Because there was a fist-sized crystal stone in the stone in front of him. Divine radiance flickered and circulated with vigorous energy. Superior grade sub-god crystal! Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. The myriad Thunder Saint had an awful expression while Tuobiye's face was ashen. He didn't expect Lin Xian to really cut out a superior grade sub-god crystal, and it was the size of a fist. The value was far beyond what he had cut out. Damn it! Impossible. I have already checked. There is nothing in this stone. How can there be a superior grade sub-god crystal? Tuobiyi seemed to be in a frenzy as he constantly roared. Indeed, he had already checked earlier and didn't find any abnormalities in Lin Xian's stone. Therefore, he was so disdainful and thought that Lin Xian was bound to lose. But now, things had exceeded his expectations. Lin Xian didn't just cut out treasures, but it was also a superior grade sub-god crystal that was far superior to what he had cut out. He couldn't accept it. Seeing the frenzied Tuobiyi, everyone had a weird expression. The myriad Thunder Saint had an even gloomier expression. He snorted and turned to leave. He had lost a lot of face today, and he was afraid that everyone would ridicule him later on. He wasn't willing to accompany Tuobiyi and be ridiculed by others. Tuobiyi didn't know that the myriad Thunder Saint had left. He was currently staring at Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered and said, "What standards do you have? Have you checked for treasures? Are there really no treasures? That's right, a piece of trash dares to compete with Brother Lin in stone gambling? You're courting death." Fatty Luo was extremely excited at the moment. Of course, he was going to deliver a merciless blow. On the side, Du Fei didn't let him off either. "Stop struggling. You've already lost. Hurry up and hand over 50 kilograms of sub-divinity crystals and get lost." They were truly overjoyed because Tuobiyi was too arrogant and didn't even put them in his eyes. Now that they could viciously strike down the other party's arrogance, they were naturally happy. "Brat, just you wait. This isn't over yet." Tuobiyi's expression was abnormally ugly, but he didn't dare to stay here any longer. This was because the complicated gazes of the surrounding martial artists were like thorns that pierced his heart. This made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Therefore, he snorted coldly and hurriedly fled. Ha ha! Fatty Luo, Du Fei, and the Crimson Dragon all burst into laughter when they saw the fleeing figure. Venting, this was too venting! In the future, who would dare to look down on them? The corners of Lin Xian's mouth also curled up slightly, but he did not let his guard down. He knew that Tuoba Yi was only a disciple of the Tuoba family. For the Tuoba family to have such a great reputation and be revered by everyone, there must be something unique and formidable about them. Therefore, he had to be careful when he encountered the Tuoba family in the future. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian kept the supreme-grade subdivinity crystals that he obtained. However, he gave the 100 subdivinity crystals to Fatty Luo and Du Fei. The two of them instantly beamed with joy. They might have special identities and didn't lack subdivinity crystals, but how could it be compared to the spoils of war? This feeling was simply too wonderful. Brother Lin, let's go inside and take a look. The outside is filled with ordinary stones. The inside is where the truly mystical stones are. This time, we have to cut out even better treasures. Let's see if we can cut out an ancient treasure. Fatty Luo and Du Fei's eyes lit up. The Crimson Dragon was also excited. Haha, it would be great if we can cut out an ancient treasure. Hearing this, Lin Xian rolled his eyes. These three fellows were too imaginative. They probably wouldn't even be able to see such a thing. However, he still followed the crowd and walked inside together. This stone gambling convention was rare. Since he was here, he naturally wouldn't return empty-handed. In the following period of time, Lin Xian frequently took action and naturally obtained a great harvest. Not only him, but Fatty Luo, the Crimson Dragon, and Du Fei also obtained treasures. Lin Xian's reputation quickly spread in the Sacred Hall. However, it wasn't just him. There were also many powerful Seeker Spirit Masters who came to the Stone Gambling Convention. In front, Lin Xian saw an especially powerful Seeker Spirit Master. He was familiar with that person. It was the middle-aged man who had set up the stall on the street. Lin Xian knew that he was a Seeker Spirit Master from the Ryu family. Even the Crimson Dragon, Du Fei, and Fatty Luo next to him were watching carefully. It couldn't be helped. The Ryu family's Seeker Spirit Masters were very famous. They were even more famous than the Tuoba family. In front of them, the middle-aged man surnamed Lu walked slowly. In his eyes there was a strange light. His eyeballs quickly faded and finally turned pure white. Even his pupils seemed to have disappeared. The pure white eyes were very strange. They bloomed with a terrifying light, forming a radiance that quickly enveloped the stone in front of him. Soon, the middle-aged man waved his hand and a 3-foot-long stone floated to his side. The stone was very old. It was covered with moss and even rusted in some places. It seemed to have been exposed to wind and rain for countless years. The surrounding crowd also cried out in surprise. This stone is a precious stone in the Sacred Hall. I didn't expect it to be cut at this moment. Yes, this stone is very expensive. I'm afraid it's worth 5,000 caddies of substandard divine crystals. Ordinary Seeker Spirit Masters wouldn't dare to buy it. 5,000 caddies of substandard divine crystals? Even a powerful figure would feel the pinch. If it can't be cut, I'm afraid it'll be a loss. I'm afraid that only a family like the Ryu family would dare to cut this stone. The middle-aged man's action caused a sensation in the crowd. Even a group of elders came from the depths of the hall to watch. These people were very old. They were all more than 3,000 years old. Each of them was like a living fossil. However, at this moment, these elders seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. Their eyes bloomed with a fiery light. Their gazes were so terrifying that even Lin Xian felt his blood boil. It was as if his blood had been ignited. How terrifying! Who are these people? Lin Xian was astonished. Just a single glance had almost set his entire body ablaze. Wasn't this a little too terrifying? You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.